Funding for the 2020 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support.
Hi, I'm Emmett Dupas. At Bienville Capital Group, we specialize in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their retirement goals so that they can enjoy life's journeys.
Chef McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Additional funding is provided by the law firm of Adams and Reese. And Jonathan C. McCall.
Hancock Whitney's roots date back to 1899, and we're still moving forward. We're on a mission to help you achieve your dreams. Hancock Whitney, your dream, our mission.
Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company, bringing you the authentic taste of the South since 1902. Support comes from Baker Donelson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Also brought to you by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services. Any challenge, any risk, anywhere in the world. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank, both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans tradition since 1898. Brennan's Restaurant offers modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine. Served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter, 417 Royal Street. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown since 1817. Home Care Solutions, compassionate in-home elder care to extend your loved one's independence. Additional support by Bellwether Technology. The Gustaf Westfeldt McIlhenny Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. And by Richard Certified Public Accountants, richardcpas.com. Live from the Sheraton Hotel and the New Orleans Marriott Hotel on historic Canal Street, bordering the French Quarter, WYES presents the 2020 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus. And now, here is Peggy Scott Laborde.
Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to the 2020 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and the mystic crew of Comus. We'll look back at Mardi Gras 50 and 100 years ago. Plus, we'll visit with Carnival royalty, past and present. The King of Carnival has already had a busy day. Let's see what he's up to the rest of the year.
Little did Joseph Story Charbonnet, the 2020 King of Carnival, know what was ahead when he walked into a meeting of the Rex organization's Pro Bono Publico Foundation.
When I get to the meeting place, I was very nervous, and there were a bunch of men standing against the wall. In front of them was my mother, and she was in a wheelchair, and I started crying, she started crying. The captain said something like, introduced me as Rex 2020, but I was a bit overwhelmed. I went over and thanked everybody, gave my mother a big old hug. She was crying, and just a very emotional event.
Charbonnet, known as Story, has Rex roots that are deep.
My father had a senior position in the School of Design for an extended period of time, and he was Rex back in 1988. My sister was Queen in 1990, and then I actually was a Duke in 1989. And my son was fortunate enough, my son John was a page in 2014, and my son Davis, my oldest, is a Duke this year with me.
This year's King of Carnival is a partner in the energy brokerage and investment bank Johnson Rice & Company. The Rex organization's Pro Bono Publico Foundation is very important to Charbonnet, who serves as its chairman. This organization supports education in New Orleans and has given over $8 million since its inception.
So the Pro Bono Publico Foundation has evolved over the last 12 to 15 years. The grants that the Pro Bono Publico Foundation gives to Teach for America and New Schools for New Orleans, potentially the Cowan Institute, KIPP schools, and some of the other big charter management organizations are reasonably expected, in my belief. We have recently begun focusing the Pro Bono Publico Foundation's grants on charter support organizations.
Charbonnet has been involved in numerous civic activities, including the Carrollton Boosters, a local baseball program for New Orleans youth.
Wasn't a very good baseball coach or soccer coach or tackle football coach, but there were other people who had those attributes. I was good at raising money, and we have well over 5,000 kids and thousands of families that are involved up there. It's grown tremendously, and each and every year we take the profits of the organization, which comes from sponsorship, donations, and we reinvest it back in the facilities.
In his leisure time, the King of Carnival enjoys the great outdoors.
I think that growing up in Louisiana and having a family, especially 3 boys here in Louisiana, each and every time we're speckled trout fishing or red fishing or catching red snapper or duck hunting or deer hunting or dove hunting, and we just come home on weekends and are thankful that Louisiana has so much to offer to us.
This year's Rex shares his feelings of gratitude.
Well, I think it's important to understand growing up with my mother and father, who had spent an enormous amount of their time giving back to the community. It was a very good life lesson for me.
Charbonnet has a royal wish.
As the King of Carnival, it is my hope that the citizens of New Orleans and all of our visitors that come from all over the world can have as much fun as I'm going to have.
And welcome again to our live broadcast. Joining us this evening a little bit later will be Errol Laborde, editor of New Orleans Magazine and author of the book Mardi Gras, Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival. And with me right now is Dr. Stephen Hales, retired pediatrician, archivist for the Rex organization, and author of the book Rex, an illustrated history of the School of Design. Just to let you know, the viewers can watch us on our Facebook page at WYES New Orleans, WYES.org, of course on television, and at WYES On Demand on YouTube. We're very excited by that. Also on YouTube, you can watch our weekly programs such as Steppin' Out and Informed Sources, as well as over 200 New Orleans history vignettes. We have so much to talk about, Stephen, including Mardi Gras. Let's start with yesterday. You were there.
Was there, and indeed Rex arrived. In the beginning, one day of partying just wasn't enough, so Rex officials decided to have Rex arrive and make a whole new celebration about that. And obviously for the last several decades, that custom has come back, and at Riverwalk, a lovely arrival by antique train, 150 guests, and I don't know how many thousand people were there, but it was very lively. Rex was very well received. He proclaimed Carnival,
And we see the captain here, and of course, and Rex himself, and there is Errol introducing, I believe, the mayor of New Orleans, LaToya. Okay, let's let him talk.
And the mayor was wonderful.
With joy, I return to our capital city to join with my loyal subjects in these carnival celebrations. To assure the fullest degree of pleasure for all, I do hereby ordain and decree the following: that during the great celebration, all commercial endeavors be suspended throughout the realm, so that pleasure may rule both day and night.
I just want to say, be safe out there. Really,
King
really
Zulu,
be safe.
Brian Sims.
Enjoy yourself. Have a great time. And hail Zulu. Thank you very much.
Rex and Zulu have a very, very, very strong relationship. We have partnered recently to give philanthropic money to some of our charter schools here in New Orleans. That's what we should be proud of tonight.
And pleasure ruling all day and all night. Well, we can kind of live with that. That sounds good. But at the end of the day, and we've had to make some very tough decisions this carnival. And one of them that's not so tough to make is turning this on over to Rex. King of Carnival, the city of New Orleans is going to be yours come Mardi Gras Day.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. And of course, the big climax, the fireworks over at Riverwalk. So much fun. Lots going on that stage last night, too.
A busy night.
Gee whiz. And of course, early this morning, the Royal Run.
This is a custom going back to Boat and O'Reilly's reign, and in Audubon Park, the Queen of Carnival, the King of Carnival will, at the sound of the cannon, take off on a mighty run. And I think it was particularly nice this morning. Sarah Lane invited a number of students from some of our public charter schools who participated in the Youth Run NOLA program, a program she helped start in New Orleans. And there they were in their T-shirts having an absolutely wonderful time. And
and of course,
they are.
Coming out and
Here we go.
As well. I'm really looking forward to today. It's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to run with all y'all. Hail Rex.
Sarah Eleanor Lane.
Big shout out to our Queen Sarah for providing the first ever official Royal Run shoelaces.
What a wonderful way to start. We're going to start with the toast to our Queen, Queen Sarah. How beautiful you are, and how fun today is going to be with you today.
I understand tradition is that the Queen always wins, or
the Queen always wins. Actually, this is a Queen who probably could. She was a very successful athlete at Newman, a wonderful soccer player.
And in person, I actually have some of these shoestrings. And this is so generous of the Riley family. Every year, they give many of these T-shirts out for free. I saw lots of king cake out there, too, right?
Indeed. That's one way we have of honoring and remembering Boat and O'Reilly, who gave so much to the organization, to the city.
What a wonderful tradition. Let's talk about the parade. I know that's your passion.
Oh, goodness sakes. What a blessing that it didn't rain. You know, this parade is the first built by royal artists. The theme, Omens and Auguries, allowed for just some absolutely beautiful artwork to be created. The sun shone enough to really show the beautiful colors, the beautiful sculptures, beautiful titles of these floats and stories to tell. We've invited lots of school children to visit the Den during the weeks before Carnival.
And here's Rex himself.
And it gives them a preview of what the thousands of people on the parade route got to see today. There is our King of Carnival at the Intercontinental.
The King of Carnival. Hail Rex!
I will first raise my glass to Queen Sarah. What a beautiful young lady. Your accomplishments are far more than mine, so I'm not about to try to start reading those off. And I can't imagine what you will accomplish in the remainder of your career after you graduate from the University of Virginia.
Rex, I hope you've had a wonderful ride so far. I feel so honored to be your queen, and we're so lucky to have such a beautiful court. I'd also like to raise a toast to the handsome and dedicated pages. Y'all are the best. Thank you for everything that you do for the city, especially for the children of New Orleans. I'm so looking forward to celebrating with you tonight. We're going to have a ball, So go Who's and Hail Rex.
And of course, that's when in the signature floats, the Rex jesters.
I think a very nice thing today is that not only were the streets full of happy parade goers, but it was a safe day.
Yes.
And the parades rolled beautifully on time. The Ides of March, reference to the premonition of Caesar's death.
And very much old world in terms of paper mache and the artistry.
Lovely streamers
so
and the flowers, Edgar Allan Poe, Nevermore, with the ravens moving on their posts, and the beautiful flowers, lilies of the valley, and just absolutely gorgeous. The costumes, of course, designed by Susu Kearney. This float, Mahamaya's dream, the mother of Buddha, dreamed that she was visited by an elephant.
The colors seem more bright, a little bit more vivid, too.
Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful work. Watching the sculptors and the painters that work in the den all year to create these works of art that will be on the street just for a few hours. And then we start over again.
Congratulations. I know you worked on this year-round.
It's an art form that we need to preserve.
Absolutely. And you know, for such an historic event, it is only fitting that we include a few historical questions to test your knowledge of Carnival history. We will have 3 questions during tonight's broadcast, with some wonderful prizes for the viewers who submit all 3 correct answers. Here are our prizes and the first question. Our Carnival quiz prizes include a one-night stay for 2 at the Inn at Homus House, which includes a guided tour of the mansion and a plantation breakfast for 2, a $350 value. The inn is located on the grounds of Homus House Plantation and Gardens in Burnside, Louisiana, along the River Road. A 2020 Rex Parade Bulletin, depicting this year's Rex Parade with its theme, Omens and Auguries, illustrated by New Orleans artist Caroline M. Thomas. A 2020 Rex Proclamation. This year's proclamation is by New Orleans artist Molly McGuire. Images of prophets and portents appear, along with Rex symbols, in Ms. McGuire's colorful style. A copy of Mardi Gras Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival by Errol Laborde and published by Pelican. A copy of New Orleans Mardi Gras Moments, with photographs by Judy Bottoni and text by me, Peggy Scott Laborde, also published by Pelican. And a DVD of tonight's program. And now our first Carnival quiz question. In Greek mythology, what was Comus the god of? We'll tell you where to send your answers later in our broadcast. And we are less than 10 minutes away from the start of the ball, including a performance by the Marine Corps Reserve Band. But now, let me show you this year's Rex memorabilia. Stephen, the invitation, that's close to your heart.
Oh, yes. These designs have become more beautiful each year, really a throwback to the golden age of Carnival when invitations were printed overseas. This year's invitation to the ball, omens and auguries being the theme, tarot cards, zodiac signs, and on the reverse, a Sibyl, one of the oracles, probably found in the Temple of Delphi. Created by Matthew Hales, who does much of our art and has really given...
As a volunteer, we might add.
He is.
Right.
He is.
That's magnificent.
But absolutely spectacular work. I've already seen some of these on eBay, so they must be popular out there.
And then the edict? And explain what the edict is. That's a little...
in the beginning, Rex, their effort was to bring visitors to New Orleans. So Rex, once he became the king of Carnival, sent out commands to people to come to New Orleans and celebrate. And they said, yes, we will. And they did. And that still is a cornerstone of our tourism industry. We work with tourism officials to send out modern edicts through the tourism industry worldwide. So in the same way that those earlier edicts were placed in train stations, now these are on the internet, and the city fills up again with visitors from Mardi Gras.
And the ducals.
Yes. In past years, we have gone many directions, but this year we have a very traditional ducal medal, a nod to the 1877 ducal medallion. In the early days, these medals were fashioned in Paris and were imported here. These are now created locally in partnership with the Adler Jewelry Company.
They're magnificent.
Absolutely beautiful. But
yes.
1877, a beautiful medal created at that time inspired this year's medal.
Okay. How about the bulletin? I always love that. The details.
We brought back some good old ideas from the Golden Age. The only way we know what those parades looked like is we were able to preserve some of the bulletins that contained those designs. The corner art here, again by Matthew Hales, beautiful watercolors by Caroline Thomas of Royal Artists. Each of these float designs from which our artists work preserved in a bulletin, so that 100 years from now, if we want to remember 2020, we can see the designs of that parade and have that memory.
And the ball program, I love that.
Yes, it's a classic look, isn't it? Each year, many things are similar, but the little changes that respond to the theme. Again, the realm has very generous artists. Matthew Hales creates that one also.
You also include not only, of course, the court, but the entire lineage of all past royalty.
All the past kings and queens of Carnival. Mm-hmm. And there's a lovely black cat, omens and auguries.
Okay. And we wanted to actually, you referenced the 1877 Ducal. We actually have a picture of that, thanks to you.
Yeah.
We're going to show that shortly as well. And the little black cat, that is it's so darling. There we go.
We have that in the collection at the Den, and the artist who created this year's medal were inspired by that.
Yeah. We are very sad to say that among the many dear folks who are so involved with Rex, who have passed these past few weeks, Brooke Duncan, who was such an integral part of the Rex organization, of course, a former captain, but also a monarch. And you all did a little tribute to him, didn't you?
And just an absolutely wonderful servant of the community, but there's his portrait as it hangs in the Rex room. Brooke Duncan with some of the students that we've helped over the years. If you wanted to take a captain out of central casting, you'd probably pick Brooke
Yes.
Duncan. He was tall, elegant. He commanded respect. This was a Marine pilot who fought in the Second World War with great courage.
And explain this.
They're
This is
his
just
initials.
very special.
We had our artist paint Brooke Duncan's initials on the King's float. We felt he deserved one more wonderful ride, and we remembered him today.
Absolutely. Stephen, we have to tell you that I guess we're feeling like, or you're passing the torch, and please explain what that means for
Yes,
us.
indeed. It's been a joy to be part of this important telecast for so long. So many people care so deeply about this. Will French, who's worked with us here over the last year, will be stepping in and taking over these responsibilities. I remember when I stepped in for Henri Schindler many years ago, and it's been an honor to be part of something that's so much a part of our culture, and so many people rely on this to keep their memories of Carnival alive.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. It's been such a pleasure to work with you, and I've learned a lot as well.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Of course. And you just heard the golden tones of Mark Romig, because he is the official ball announcer. He, by day, is Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer at New Orleans and Company. 28 years with Rex in his beautiful voice, and he is the voice of the Saints for home games. And you'll be hearing music shortly, and this evening's music is performed by 17 members of the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra. They are called the Musicians of. The conductor is David Torrance, and Torrance is Associate Conductor and Principal Pops Conductor of the Baton Rouge Symphony. And we really want to say once again, we appreciate Dr. Hales. I know one of his loves in life is the orchestra, the LPO, so I know you've had a little something to do with this too.
The community is blessed with a magnificent orchestra. These musicians are underpaid, but they deliver a magnificent product, and to have it part of our Rex Ball has been very special.
Thank you again, Stephen.
Thank you, Peggy.
And now it's time to thank those who have made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2020 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. Additional funding is provided by the law firm of Adams and Reese. and Jonathan C. McCall.
Hancock Whitney's roots date back to 1899, and we're still moving forward. We're on a mission to help you achieve your dreams. Hancock Whitney, your dream, our mission.
The Gustaf Westfeldt McIlhenny Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. Also brought to you by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services. Any challenge, any risk, anywhere in the world. Support comes from Baker Donelson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Home Care Solutions, compassionate in-home elder care to extend your loved one's independence. And by Richard Certified Public Accountants, richardcpas.com.
All right, and you are seeing live from the Rex Ball. We're in the historic Canal Street, the Sheraton Hotel, getting ready. That wonderful crown, Foster awning does a great job with the canvas. But let me introduce, here with us tonight is Will French. Will works with Dr. Hales in preserving and researching the Rex organization's history and historical artifacts. He's also a local attorney and tax credit financier for the film and historic preservation industry. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks very much for having me. I love being here.
Absolutely, we're thrilled you're here. And Errol Laborde joining us. Hello, dear.
Hi, I was just outside. This amazing sight with all the street cleaners and the debris and the picking up. With all the Rex people arriving. So you got all these beautiful people just walking around, all the mess being cleaned up. And it's a good sight. It's a kind of sign of redemption, you know, so.
Absolutely. And, you know, in just a few moments, we're about to welcome the Marine Forces Reserve Band, and we're really thrilled about the band is coming. They have been involved with so many parades, of course, over the last few weeks. They've even brought reinforcements in. We'll be talking to the head of the band. He'll tell us all about that. But they do so many events throughout the year, here and around the country, actually, too. But they'll be clearing the dance floor shortly for the Marine Reserve Band. How was your day?
I had a great day. Rode in the parade.
Oh.
One of the last floats. We had so much fun. The crowds were great. The weather was fine. It was a little cloudy, not sunny, but it was just perfect.
It was fun. So what float did you ride on?
I was float number 25, and we were the angel, the bird of peace, the dove.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, y'all had a really good ride today, too.
Great ride. Very much on time and efficient. Everything worked as planned, which doesn't always happen.
No. And, you know, seeing Royal, we were talking earlier about Royal artists, and the use of the vibrant color for the day parade really was gorgeous.
I would say that the floats had an extra layer of delicacy that we're not used to seeing. Strings of stars and flowers dangling down and shaking and shimmering in the with the movement of the float. It really was beautiful, delicate, beautiful craftsmanship.
And we got to walk around the quarter a little bit.
We did. As is tradition, we walked down to the far end of the quarter. See the Society of St. Anne as it marches across, and what a sight. Must be like 1,000 people who were masked. And now there are spin-off groups like the Society of St. Cecilia, which we saw them too. And they just bring so much festivity. And this is a sign of the French Quarter that's evolving out of Marigny, because it starts out of there, then they move across the French Quarter.
And once again, getting ready for the Marines.
The 48th year of his reign. The Rex organization is proud to salute the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, especially those serving in combat zones around the world. This evening, we are honored by the presence of the Marine Forces Reserve Band, led on by the march by Staff Sergeant Keith Algio from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Established in 1978, the Marine Forces Reserve Band is composed of 51 active duty men and women that represent the command of Marine Forces Reserve in their home city of New Orleans. They travel the country, performing for millions of people each year, supporting military ceremonies as well as hundreds of public events in support of Marine Corps recruiting command efforts and the National Community Relations Campaign. Most recently, they performed their annual concert production benefiting Toys for Tots in the Mahalia Jackson Theater right here in New Orleans, as well as numerous balls throughout the season. Sergeant Algio.
Ladies and gentlemen, the officer in charge, Warrant Officer Eric Kine from Hartford, Connecticut.
And we'll be speaking
As the
to
band
Eric
entered the
later
ballroom
on.
this evening, you heard the battle cry of freedom. The Marine Forces Reserve Band's next selection will remind everyone of all the good times during Carnival, especially crowds and energetic animated parades we all love to see. Listen as they perform South Rampart Street Parade. For the first time ever, the Marine Forces Reserve Band will perform a song dear to all members of the Rex organization. Written by George Laborde and performed by many artists, this next piece became the anthem for Rex, the King of Carnival, in 1872. Ladies and gentlemen, featuring the Marine Forces Reserve Band's brass band, please enjoy If Ever I Cease to Love.
A jazzy interpretation.
That was very unique.
A very unusual version, but interesting.
Yeah. Fun.
That last selection was arranged and performed on sousaphone by Sergeant Errol Haskins, featuring a solo on tenor saxophone by Sergeant Lucy Romroot. Ladies and gentlemen, no Marine Band performance would be complete without the playing of our national march, John Philip Sousa's immortal, The Stars and Stripes Forever.
One thing I like about this song was
the piccolo soloists this evening are Lance Corporals Jessica Backus and Taylor Hart. All present, please rise for the presentation of colors and join in singing our national anthem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. The band's final selection is the Armed Forces Medley. If you or a family member have served or is currently serving, we ask that you please stand and be recognized when your service song is played. United States Coast Guard. The Rex organization asks that you join together in a warm round of applause for the members of the Marine Forces Reserve Band.
Warrant Officer Eric Kine is the new officer in charge of the band, arriving here in June, this past June. The drum major, Staff Sergeant Keith Algio, will be retiring after 20 years of service to the Marine Corps, making this his last Rex Ball and Carnival season as drum major for the Marine Forces Reserve. He'll be retiring to Jacksonville, North Carolina.
They are so good.
They are.
And they appeared at the Rex Den this morning to send out the floats, and they got everybody excited about a great Mardi Gras day.
You know, when they do the medley of those service songs, every one of those songs is a good piece of music. Each one of them. I mean, they're very emotional, very rousing.
Mm-hmm. And in just a few moments here, we have the official whistle. We know what's about to happen. The ball has begun. The Rex lieutenants in their splendid garb.
It's one of my favorite signs of Carnival. I love those Rex lieutenant costumes.
This is Nick Volz on the left, who is an associate professor of classical and jazz trumpet at Loyola, and Dr. Todd Engelhardt to the right, who's a thoracic and cardiac surgeon in Metairie and has his own band called the New Orleans Arrhythmia. And Rex and his queen have definitely entered the building, Will.
And they look great.
And we're talking about, of course, Mr. J. Story Charbonnet and Miss Sarah Eleanor Lane. And note the music, once again, by the musicians of the LPO. 18 pieces tonight. And that song, Errol. If Ever I Cease to Love.
Yet another version of it.
Yes.
This was the March time version of it that was written in New Orleans. The reference earlier was to the original version, the English version, which was done for the for the burlesque. And so it comes from a different origin, but same song.
The Queen of Carnival is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Harry Merritt Lane III, and she graduated from Isadora Newman in 2017 and currently attends the University of Virginia. You're going to be hearing about the University of Virginia a lot tonight, I predict, where she is majoring in foreign affairs and minoring in global culture and commerce. She completed a summer study course in the summer of 2018 at the London School of Economics, and she also attended a UVA summer school in Valencia, Spain, where she studied business Spanish and mass media in Spanish. And our regal monarch, Mr. Charbonnet, is a partner in Johnson Rice & Company, which is the longest standing independent energy brokerage and investment firm in the United States. He graduated from Jesuit High School and earned his BS degree from the University of Virginia in 1990.
Both UVA grads.
Yes, indeed. He serves on many boards, as we heard earlier in our program, but he's also on the board of directors for the Audubon Commission, Good Shepherd Nativity Mission, the Libby Dufour Foundation, and the board of directors for the Bureau of Governmental Research. And of course, with great fondness, we remember his dad, who reigned as Rex 32 years ago, John Charbonnet, in 1988.
You'll notice something interesting about this Rex, Peggy. Usually they have a lot more gray hair. Story Charbonnet is very young, very energetic, and I think that's a testament to how much he's gotten done in such a short lifespan. He has so many wonderful accomplishments, has done so many great things for this city, and has certainly earned this distinction tonight.
I want to mention, we talked about remembering John Charbonnet. John Charbonnet, thankfully, is still with us.
Yes, of course.
He's a former Rex, also a former high-ranking executive of the School of Design. And I can tell you that when Mardi Gras was formed, he was in a position to have it not happen. And he was very supportive of it, and so he was very important in that.
And we, of course, miss terribly Mrs. Charbonnet, Dottie Charbonnet, the King's mother, and who passed away just a few weeks back.
I was talking to John Charbonnet just before the ball started, and he said that Dottie is looking down from heaven, and she's very proud today, and he says to Story, have fun.
Absolutely. And both of them are really quite resplendent in their gowns, in their royal attire.
The Queen of Carnival is one of 3 sisters, and all sisters are very close. They all went to Newman together. They all played soccer together. They all went to Camp Marywood together, all went to UVA together, and all were Kappa Kappa Gammas together. Really? But our Queen Sarah broke out on her own recently and started to go out seeking adventure, and she's traveled to Thailand and Australia. The Great Barrier Reef, has been diving there, skydiving, studied at the London School of Economics. She is a bit of an adventure seeker, but she says that nobody makes her laugh as much as her other 2 sisters. They are a very close group, and I know that they're all very proud to be here tonight to watch and cheer her on.
Yes.
Isn't this one of 3 costumes the king will wear in 24 hours? He has 1 costume for Mardi Gras, one for the float ride, and 1 for the ball.
Absolutely. And I love that the music is wonderful. Okay, and here's our first maid tonight, Miss Julia Armstrong Sayer, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Sayer, Jr., and she is a graduate at Greenwich Academy in Connecticut, where she's on the Dean's List. She was on the Dean's List, and she's currently a junior at UVA, University of Virginia, majoring in media studies, and she intends to pursue a career in media studies with a focus on public health. And she is accompanied by Davis Story Charbonnet, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Story Charbonnet, and he is a senior at the University of Texas, majoring in petroleum engineering.
Well, it's a big year for the Charbonnet family, that's for sure. And with respect to Julia, her father, John Sayer, was a page in Rex 50 years ago.
Wow. And they are often accompanied by former Rexes behind them, these gentlemen that we'll be seeing shortly at the Crown.
King Milling was one of them.
Yes.
And Robert Bowe.
And Robert
Rex
last year.
2019.
Yes, here we go.
At the rehearsal a couple of days ago.
Well, actually, let us introduce, if you will, another a wonderful maid, Miss Ellen Lorraine Gamble, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Gary Joseph Gamble, and she's a junior at the University of Mississippi, majoring in banking and finance. And she is accompanied by Harry Bartley Keller IV, Kel, as he's known, and he's a graduate of Metairie Park Country Day, but he also graduated from the University of Mississippi, where he majored in business. And his hobbies include hunting and fishing. He's working at Burns and Wilcox in Metairie.
You're going to love this story. Kel's parents, Chrissy and Harry, met as a duke and maid during the Rex Ball and got married, and the rest is history.
Really? That is a great story. Love it.
Ellen is also known as Elbow by her family.
Elbow?
Because she was learning the body parts as a very young girl. Eyes, nose, mouth, got to elbow and said, "That's me." Has not been able to shake the name since. Hardy Fowler and Harry Kelleher, former Rexes.
And next up,
Harry Kelleher tells a great story the night he was Rex. Late that evening when they brought him back to his apartment, he didn't have his key with him. And luckily his neighbor had a key. So he had to wake up his neighbor to let him in.
And that would be his granddad, I guess, too. Huh? Okay. And let's see, is this Miss Gibert? Miss Lindsay Lejeune Gibert, the daughter of Mr. James Howard Gibert Jr. and Mrs. John Peter Laborde Jr. And she is a graduate of Isidore Newman School and a junior currently at the University of Colorado, and with an emphasis on advertising. And her duke is Mr. John Crichton McCall Schwegman Brown, Jack, and he is the son of the late Mr. Crichton Willoughby Brown and Mrs. Crichton Willoughby Brown, and he graduated from LSU, where he majored in finance.
And that's Johnny Kerner and Perry Eastman.
Okay.
Crichton's father, Cricky Brown, passed away a few years ago. He was a beloved float sergeant in the Rex organization. They still toast him to this day. I know that he's very proud today.
And we have coming up Miss Lydia Vivian Calhoun, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Murray Andrew Calhoun. And she graduated from Isidore Newman School, but she is currently a junior at Washington and Lee University, participating in the Feel Good organization, which provides meals to needy children. And she is hoping to focus on an art internship in London, and she did that, and interested in art. And she is accompanied by Mr. William George Wyeth Coulter, and he is a senior at Stanford University, majoring in management science and engineering.
And that's Hunter Pearson, former Rex.
Okay. And we have Miss Erin Selber Ottenreith, and she's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert H. Ottenreith, coming up shortly here. Okay, and she is majoring in integrated marketing communications. She's a student at Arizona State University, and she's accompanied by Mr. Robert Wyman, Bobby, who's the son of Mr. George, Robert S. George Wyman, and Miss Cynthia Housen Wyman, and he is actually studying for his CPA over the summer and will begin working at Ernst & Young in Dallas in the fall.
Mr. Wyman's grandfather was Jack Wyman, a beloved member of the Rex organization, a great diplomat, a great man, well loved.
And next up, we're waiting for Lucille Caliste Currance, Lucy, and she's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Richard Morrison Currance Jr. Here she comes with her beautiful red hair. She's a graduate of McGee School, and she's a junior at Sewanee, majoring in art history. And she's accompanied by Mr. William Mitchell Wan, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Robert J. Wan IV. And she's a graduate of Isidore Newman School and a graduate of Washington and Lee University. He is majoring in business administration.
Lucy's mother was Queen of Carnival in 1993.
Okay, and I think you might know, by the way, here we go.
That's Dennis McDonald.
Yes.
And Lou Frierson.
And Miss Rebecca Emerson French. Becca is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Fenner French.
Now this one is special. I'm a little biased though.
Graduate at Newman School and the student at Sewanee, University of South, majoring in Spanish. And we want to, let's also mention that she's accompanied by Mr. William Knox Van Horn Knox, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Charles James Van Horn, graduate of Metairie Park Country Day, and he graduated from NYU's Tisch School of Arts, and he is studying, he is an actor currently in New York.
They are both beautiful vocalists, have the singing gift, and that's Ron French and Stephen Hales.
Oh, yes. Also known as Dad to you.
Dad.
And we are waiting for Miss Charlotte Hollingsworth Friend. She's up next, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth Charles Friend, Jr. And she is a junior at Southern Methodist University, majoring in corporate communications and public affairs, and she intends to attend law school. And Mr. Walker Erling Simmons Bright, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Edgar Allen Bright, and he attended Metairie Park Country Day and pursuing a career in the financial industry with a focus on real estate.
And that's Poco Sloss and Sandy Villery escorting them. Charlotte recently visited, did some work in Spain for school, and had a balcony which was completely undecorated, and as any good New Orleanian would do, she decorated with Mardi Gras beads.
Of course.
That's the way we do it here.
Yes, indeed. And we have a maid's pin that at some point we will show, which is given to all the maids in the court every year. Once again, we have Adler's to thank for that wonderful design.
His Majesty Rex sends greetings to Rear Admiral John P. Netto, Commander of the 8th District, United States Coast Guard. The Rex organization asks that Rear Admiral Netto please receive its royal decoration.
Errol, as we know, the military has always been very close to Rex.
From the very beginning, the very first Rex parade had an Army band in it.
Rex wishes to royally welcome a select group of debutantes who will now be presented to their majesties. Miss Catherine Isabel Mallart.
She is the daughter and stepdaughter of Mr. and Mrs. Louise Etienne Ballard and the stepdaughter and daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Paul Andrew Hogan. She's a junior at LSU and political science major. Now, who is accompanying them? I believe it's usually the dad on occasion, and so
I believe that's right.
Figure it out pretty shortly when we see whom Miss Bat is accompanied by.
Miss Kelly Manning Bat.
And she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John August Bat Jr., also known as Jay Bat, who we certainly are familiar with. She's a junior at the University of South Carolina, and she is majoring in advertising. Here we are.
And that is her father, Jay Bat.
There we
yes,
go.
It did.
And she wants to have a career in advertising with emphasis on journalism or graphic design.
Also a former city council member.
Yes.
Miss Laurel Ann Box.
Miss Laurel Ann Box is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Bo James Box of Baton Rouge, and she's a junior at High Point University in North Carolina and majoring in event management. And she enjoys traveling and helping children with learning disabilities.
That is Bo Box, her father.
Miss Catherine Blair Fagan.
Miss Fagan is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. George Davidson Fagan. She's a junior at Washington and Lee University in Virginia, and she's majoring in physics and economics with a minor in art history. She enjoys playing the viola.
Miss Elizabeth Carter McDermott.
She is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Martin Archibald McDermott, and we'll see her shortly. She is a junior at the College of Charleston, and she is majoring in international business. She attended Isidore Newman High School. She volunteered in Haiti with organizations as well as a volunteer for St. Jude Children's Hospital.
Miss Allison Anna Patalo.
She is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Donald Anthony Patalo. She is a junior at the University of Georgia, and she is majoring in medicine and biology, and she plans on becoming a doctor, specializing in immunology or endocrinology and working abroad. God bless her.
These young ladies are so talented.
Next up is Miss Easton Lee
Miss
Thomas.
Easton Lee Thomas.
She is the daughter of Mr. Warner L. Thomas, and Miss Linda Margaret Bacon is currently a junior at the University of Miami, and she is majoring in biology and psychology. We'll be seeing her shortly.
And she's involved with Habitat for Humanity, Active Minds Mental Health Awareness Club, Climate Change Reality Project, the Health Studies Student and American Medical Student Associations, as well as the Beta 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 Biological Honor Society.
And I understand she hopes to attend medical school and have a career in child psychiatry. And we'll be seeing her shortly. Will, tell us about what they're receiving here. Just a nice little memento. Huh?
Each Deb will receive a nice pendant made by Adler's on a ribbon, and it's a beautiful crown pendant, usually with pearls, I think, or gems on the top, the ends of the crown.
And you'll be meeting the pages in a little while. We keep them busy tonight.
They're hardworking young men, have a lot of responsibilities.
Proud dads?
Absolutely.
And of course, Mr. Thomas is the head of Oxnard Hospital, Foundation Hospital, and so many hospitals, in case the name sounds familiar. What an incredible growth in the last few years.
It is the pleasure of the Rex organization to present to this year's King and Queen, the Queen of the Carnival of 1970, Linda Young Williams.
She is so beautiful, such a wonderful story. I was talking to her granddaughter recently, and when she was young, lived on Rosa Park Avenue, her own mother would make the Mardi Gras costumes and take them all out to the parades on Mardi Gras Day, make each one by hand.
How dear. I understand Mrs. Young, they live in Pass Christian, she and her husband, and they volunteer in many local activities, especially relating to the church.
And her king was Ashton Phelps, former publisher of the Times-Picayune, whose son also became publisher of the Picayune.
Now, I had heard that there was a luncheon at Gallagher's in November and that the captain in the ball chair actually toasted her and gave her a new King's flag because the King's flag that she had gotten lost to Katrina. So very
That's
dear.
such a nice touch.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Rex's theme that year was classic cartoons and comics. So,
and her granddad was Rex in 1952, and her father, Rex in 1987, William Wyler Young Jr. And notice the all canvas flooring of Foster awning. Talk about a lot of work when they put that together. And later, that canvas is used for art projects for students in local schools.
Quite a production to make it, fold it, transport it, unfold it.
I'll say.
Really quite talented.
This grand march and the first dance that follows are reserved exclusively for members of the Rex organization.
All right, Will, we're putting you to work.
Tell you, the Grand March is a lot of fun. This is where all the members of the organization come to pay their respects and bow and curtsy.
I had a guy stop me in the lobby and said, "Hey, what can we do to be recognized in the Grand March?" And I said, "Wave."
All right, Will.
Here we have Anne-Lynn Charbonnet, the wife of Rex 2020, Kia and Christy Brown, James and Erica Reese, Ellie Lane, the mother of the Queen.
All right, there we
And I believe Merritt Lane was on the end.
And Christy Brown being the president of the Rex School of Design, the parent organization.
That's right. And then next will be Coco and Liz Sloss, Dugan and Linda Westfeldt, Bill and Ann Grace, Lou and Ruthie Frierson, and Hardy and Ellie Fowler.
There we go. Mr. and Mrs. King Milling, Anne looking resplendent
King
in
Milling.
red.
And this is Bill and Cece Langenstein. And that is Foster Duncan and Sean. Anne and Sandy Villery, Richard and Courtney Montgomery, Holt and Gordo Cobb, Michael and Marley LaBourgeois, Richard and Mathilde Currents. And then we have another Duncan, Kelly Duncan, and Carmen Duncan, King and June Logan, JP and Aaron Himel. Michael and Caroline Milling we have there. There's Robert Bowe and his lovely wife.
All right. I see Elise Kaiser and her husband here.
Scott Ham, yes, Elise
and
Kaiser.
Friersons.
And that's Ruthie and Lou Frierson.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Autenreith, the father of one of the maids. Robert Weinman.
Looks like Richard Freeman and Sarah.
Hunter and Kathy Pearson. Yes, Richard and Sarah.
And
that's Jimmy Gunlock and Aunt Susan Gunlock. William Preer, that's Billy and Ann Gollywas. Ann is Story Charbonnet's sister. That's Betsy Nolte. Betsy and Donald. Ken Friend and Nina Friend. The Gambles. And we have a lot of Labordes coming up here. We've got Jack Laborde, Peggy Laborde, Eric Laborde, Betsy Laborde.
And we should note that of these Rex members are wearing the Rex Ducal, the men's Ducal. There's Jack and Peggy, yes.
At the ball, everybody wears the Ducal on a ribbon.
That's right, Jack, a former Rex.
That's Mrs. Vigory.
Mr. Villery. And
Mr. Villery.
And
Mr.
Jay
Bat.
and Andy Bat.
Jay and Andre Bat.
Andre Bat.
Stephen and Nancy Hales, Arthur Hardy,
Yes,
Daryl and
Arthur
Llewellyn
Hardy.
Berger. Oh boy, a lot of Frenches coming up in the row behind them. We better get started now. That is Shane French, Ben French, Flora Fenner French, Ron French, Mom and Dad. And that's Peck and Vivian Hain. You see how everybody lines up. Everybody wants their turn to come and to bow and to pay respects. Britt Johnson from last year's queen, and Eric Johnson. And the teamers. Charlie and Cheryl Teamer.
Yeah.
Murray and Caroline Calhoun. Peter and Renee Laborde. And I believe that is Mr. Bright.
Mike Rapier. There's Mr. Mike Rapier.
Mike Rapier and Jim Rapier.
Yes. And Mrs. Rapier. And
we have Sandy Wan on the right. Margaret Beer. That's Jim and Phyllis Coulter, the parents of one of our Dukes.
And General Mize off to the left. Yes. See Johnny Kerner and
see King Milling and look Paul Flower. Oh yes, Johnny and Ann Kerner.
And our 50-year queen, Mrs. Young.
Accompanied by
Williams,
her daughter, Jean Baxter, and her husband, John Baxter. Oh, Alice Parkerson and Brooke Duncan. Brooke Duncan, one of the children of our former Rex, Brooke Duncan. Tim and Jenny Williamson. Now we have Daryl Bird and Cara Vandekar. Again, it's very special thanks to Daryl Bird and the support of Iberia Bank for this broadcast. Merritt Lane on the far right, the father of the Queen of Carnival, Susu and Andrew Stahl. Jimmy Gunlock again. A very proud Rex and his queen. Vaughn and Andrew Downing. The Gambles.
Oh, and I see, of course, the father of our Rex, Mr. John Charbonnet.
Oh, there he is, John Charbonnet, looking great.
Yes. So great to have him here tonight.
Oh, he must be so proud today.
Ooh, yes.
Stafford Winsberg. I saw Michael and Connie Winsberg.
I'm wowed by a lot of these dresses. Well, can't help but think that.
The dresses are beautiful.
Really.
Anne and Tony Fuselier. Anne looking beautiful. A very nice bow, Tony. Look at the crowd to get up and say hi. There's Alan Carroll, bienvenue in the next line, and very special person for me, my girlfriend of 5 years, Tricia Sarpy, right there in the beautiful blue dress. And then we have Holly and John Neesett.
All right.
Mason Cuvion.
See Polly and Bob Thomas.
Yeah.
Polly's usually in red, but she's in blue tonight.
Well, either one works for her.
Yes,
She's beautiful.
yes, yes.
Oh, coming up next, this is the whole Johnson clan. Story gave such a wonderful speech yesterday, saying that Doug Johnson, the patriarch in the middle, is responsible for everything that Story has in New Orleans. His job, his everything. It was the most touching speech I've ever heard a Rex give. It really was a tearjerker.
Very dear.
Bobby Voorhees.
Bobby Voorhees, longtime member of WYES's Board of Trustees, so kind for the station. I see Kathleen Van Horn in a gorgeous light green dress. Yes, and her son was, of course, tonight a Rex Duke, their son. Kathleen designed such beautiful gowns, but also for a lot of local theatrical productions as well. She's a busy bee.
Wow.
Our king has a beard.
Ron and Flora French there, mom and dad, looking great. Sybil Favreau, Hunter and Kaylee Hill, great friends, great neighbors. Jay Batt, Liam Grace. There's Brian Batt on the right.
There's Brian. He must be so proud.
Yeah, a local star, very talented.
Yes, absolutely. And funny, you know, just naturally funny.
The Slaytons. The page's plumes make it a little bit hard to catch everybody.
I know, we've got that plume in the way there.
You don't see much dancing on this side of Canal Street. This really is more of a reception than anything else, and it's the chance for everybody in a very organized and dignified fashion to come and pay their respects and blow a little kiss and wave.
I'm so glad you pointed that out. And you know, there aren't the call-outs where there are dances and the young ladies are called out and given a favor and danced with. This is not like that. It's more of a reception, isn't it?
It really is. Dennis and Katie Rubion. In a few minutes, you'll see the lieutenants and their wives bring up the rear, and they'll put an end to the Grand March, but they're giving everybody a chance now to come and bow and curtsy. It also gives you an idea as to how many people are in attendance tonight.
It sure does. We're once again in the Grand Ballroom at the Sheraton Hotel on historic Canal Street. A little later, we'll be taking you to the Comus Ball right across the street at the Marriott, in which the courts, the Rex Court will be crossing the street to, of course, attend the historic meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus.
Will Jacobs and his lovely wife on the left.
Love her dress with the flowers. It's
beautiful.
Very pretty. Mike Kristovich, and, yeah.
That's Jim Yuji and Joni.
Kate Prechter, a beautiful dress, a beautiful blue dress to the left.
So Clay and Molly's Kearney. Clay's mother, or Aunt Susu, does a lot with the designing of the costumes for all of the riders.
And also being a talented artist in her own right as well.
I saw Clay this morning and his costume was missing its signature cape. And he said that his aunt would not be too happy with him if she had seen.
And there's Nell Nolan off to the right, talking to Daniel Erath, the photographer, and giving a little bit of a, here we go. I think they're about to take a photo here, too.
Sabrina and Andrew.
Taking the court photos. Nell's one of the hardest working women I know.
Look at her working.
The amount of balls
you can't stop her.
that she's had to attend at all the different social events. Back to back to back.
Oh, I think I see the lieutenant starting to creep in there.
All right. And right after this wonderful tradition, we're going to have you meet the pages. We're going to finish up here first, and then we'll be meeting the pages.
Claude and Lori Williams.
And of course, the mayor, Latoya Cantrell.
There's the mayor, looking dashing, looking beautiful.
That's a beautiful dress.
She was so funny yesterday at Lundegraw.
There's Nell Nolan, as we said, and Daniel Erath. Yes, she was. She was very funny. Nell knows how to curtsy.
Suggs family. Look at the Suggs family looking great.
Aww.
And Sandy Wan. Now we see the lieutenants coming up with their wives. That's Sweet Dupuis, Nancy Walsh, Gwathmey Gamilla behind the dress.
All right. What an efficient way to meet and greet.
It really is.
Very good.
His Majesty Rex 2020 invites everyone to participate in the dancing.
Okay, I think there are a few people who wanted to go up and say hello, but
I think they might still get a chance or two.
They'll probably get an opportunity to do that. Yeah, they're continuing on. Here we go, a few more curtsies. Yes. Let's see if we have any curtsying left here, and then we'll go ahead and meet the pages. Yes, let's go ahead and meet the pages. And we are starting with and this is the King's page, I believe. This is the King's page. We're just confirming that, and yes, it is. And of course, this is Master Collier Pratt Villery. He found out that he would be a page through a poem his parents wrote to him. He's the son of Mr. and Mrs. St. Denis Julian Villery III. and he is a student at Trinity Episcopal School.
He is also a very significant baseball player. He plays on the Carrollton Boosters select team. They're going to travel to Cooperstown to play this year, and that is very special. So right after Mardi Gras, all of his attention switches from Rex and Carnival to baseball.
Woo. And among his hobbies including water skiing and snow skiing. Pretty athletic guy, huh? As well as what you just said. And he's been on the honor roll. And then we have the Queen's page, and that's Master, I think he's a little tired, Master Robert Edward Milling, and he is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Michael Dellery Milling. He found out they prepared a puzzle for him.
I love the story.
Yes.
He loves engineering, he loves building things. They had a puzzle made, and on the puzzle was a picture of the King's float, and above one of the pages it said, Robert Milling, page 2020. And one night he couldn't sleep, and so Mom pulled out the puzzle and said, see if you can solve this. He had it done in 20 minutes, found out his Mardi Gras destiny, and here he is.
Here he is tonight.
It's a good thing he knows how to solve puzzles. I don't know where we would have one page down if not.
And there are pages for Rex and his queen. You know, WYES TV is planning a fundraising event with a very regal theme, all to help us continue to bring you our local and network programs.
Step into the town and country world of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert at the WYES Gala presented by the Oscar J. Thomas Charitable Trust. On Friday, April 3rd, patron reception at 6:30 p.m. with general admittance at 8 p.m. Tickets are available now at WYES.org. Live music, dancing, fabulous food, libations, complimentary valet parking, wine and liquor pool, online auction. Don't miss out on a fun evening benefiting WYES. Special thanks to co-chairs Stephanie and Ludovico Fioli, Claudia and Cleveland Powell, Erica and James Reese. Thank you to these generous sponsors: the Oscar J. Thomas Charitable Trust, Sillery Foundation, Iberia Bank, Michelle Renoir and Kevin Clifford, and to the following.
And we, of course, can see the dance floor here. As we mentioned, this is a ball that's more of a reception than an actual ball with call-outs, which is another traditional way to do this. But a lot of people are visiting and revisiting for the first time in a while. And imagine there's a whole other ball that's going on across the street with the Comus ball. But we are here at the Sheraton bringing to you the Rex Ball live. And thrilled to do it. This is our 24th year that we're doing this. So we've been doing this for 23 years. We're very proud to be able to do this, and it means so much to us. We're going to be meeting with lots of Carnival, past and present, and sharing some of their memories as well. I was trying to see if there were any particular colors to pick up in terms of some of this, some of the gowns, but I think we're just sort of generally the rainbow here, which is wonderful. And now, though, it is time to thank those who have made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2020 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. Chaff McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans tradition since 1898. streetcars rolling down the tracks, and Iberia Bank. Both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustaf Westfeldt McIlhenny Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Additional support by Bellwether Technology. The Rex Ball and the Meeting of the Courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company, bringing you the authentic taste of the South since 1902. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown since 1817. Brennan's Restaurant offers modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine. Served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, Roos Bar, and Courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter, 417 Royal Street.
Hi, I'm Emmett Dupas. At Bienville Capital Group, we specialize in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their retirement goals so that they can enjoy life's journeys.
We are so thrilled. We have the 2019 Queen of Carnival, Christina Britt Johnson, with us. Welcome back, and tell us about your reign.
Oh, it was just the best couple of days ever. I mean, it was the most wonderful time, and there's really nothing like it. I'm so excited for Sarah to have that tonight.
Were you tempted to give any advice or just let her enjoy?
I briefly texted her and just said, like, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. And I was just like, if you have questions, reach out, but I know she's got it down to a T by now.
Tell us what you're up to these days. I know you were studying human development. Tell us.
Yes, ma'am. So I am still a senior at Vanderbilt. I actually got accepted to grad school about 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's a
you.
big deal.
I know. So I will actually be spending the next few years at Vanderbilt to become a counselor after I graduate.
Well, we're going to look back in just a moment and look at some of the footage, and you had such a resplendent dress yourself.
Oh, it was wonderful. Suzanne.
Here we are at the Royal Run.
The Royal Run.
That had to be so much fun.
Oh, it was so fun. It was a bit colder than it was this year.
Yes, but it certainly was. It certainly was. And how exciting to be toasted.
Was so fun.
By Mr. Beau. Oh.
That was one of the best parts, was getting to see Rex come by.
Yeah, and of course, that dress. Was it very heavy?
It's very heavy. It took a lot of practice to get used to carrying it around, especially with the whole mantle behind me. It was definitely a lot to get used to.
Didn't you have a bit of a hand in designing it?
Yes, I did. So Suzanne St. Paul designed my dress, but she was really great at listening to what my mom and I were looking for. So we had a chevron pattern along the bottom, which mimics my grandmother, Dolly Ann Sushon Johnson, who is Queen of Carnival. I think it was her 70-year anniversary when I was queen.
And of course, your grandfather was also a monarch.
Yes, my grandfather, Eric F. Johnson, and he was Rex in 1991, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you here once again.
Lovely to be here.
Happy Carnival, and thank you for being here,
thank
too.
You.
And now let's join Errol at our satellite set on the other side of the ballroom with a very special guest, the 2019 King of Carnival, Robert Sandoz Beau. Thank you, dude.
Well, thank you very much. We'll begin with our own jewelry show. Look at this piece of jewelry that this man is wearing. And what does that signify?
That's the pin given to all the former kings.
And so every king gets a king's pin. It's a very handsome piece of jewelry. Looking back at your year last year, any particular memories?
I think the main memory I take is the smiles on the people's faces, starting on Claiborne Avenue and ending on Tchoupitoulas. It was just a very happy crowd, and it was very gratifying to see it from the first float in the parade.
What's it like being on that Rex King's float? It's a pretty awesome float, and to be up there and it's just you, can you hear the crowd? Can you interact?
Oh, you can definitely interact, and I saw quite a few people along the route that knew me, and I knew most of them, and I was having trouble remembering where I knew them from, but it was fun to see so many familiar faces.
Now, being the king is it's a long day, because the Rex monarchy is the only one that has in its requirements doing a run in the morning. So there's the Rex Royal Run, which starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. So how'd you do in that?
Well, I came in second again. The Queen beat me, and I think the Queen wins most years.
It's amazing that in the records of the Royal Run that the official results show that the Queen every year has won, and the King the second year, the King finished second. And then from there you got to go back and start it. Now, it's one way to dress for the run, and another way to be a king, so you got to go back and get ready to be king.
That's right. So you go to the den and you get made up, and the hardest part of that is the glue that holds the beard on, because taking it off, it takes a couple days to get it off.
As I recall, last year there were problems, not due to Rex, but other problems along the route. And so you were probably up there on that throne for a long time.
It was a long day, and especially for my 2 pages, they were troopers because it was cold and it was a long day, but they did a great job.
And then after that, you have the ball, and the ball is, what, 3 or 4 hours of involvement?
Yeah, I get up awfully early anyway, so it was a long day to stay up after midnight for me, but I made it.
Now, usually there's partying after it goes on. Did you party into the evening or into the morning?
No, I told my Queen that was for her to do, and I was heading home.
Is there anything special about being the ex-king the first time around, the first ball?
I think the memories came flooding back, but none of the nervousness. So it was a delight today to see all the steps and remember them, but without having the pressure of having to do certain things a certain way.
And what was your year like? Were people calling you Rex all year long, or did they forget about it on Ash Wednesday?
People were very gracious. They did call me Rex quite a bit, and it felt good every single time.
And your family enjoyed everything?
They did great.
Now, your dad was a former Rex. Did he give you any advice? Or?
No, I mean, he passed away a couple of years ago, but I watched him experience it, and it was the highlight of his life.
Had he ever talked much about it?
Oh, he talked about it all the time. I mean, he just loved being in that group of former kings. It was a great fraternity, and I'm looking forward to that, too.
Now, and so today, your first ride after being Rex, did you ride on the float, or?
No, I was with the court down at the hotel and got a great view of the parade and the floats, and the floats looked fabulous, and the guys were really enjoying it.
And so that's part of what I guess the former Rex would do, would deal with the court and the pageantry.
Yeah, it was just trying to be good hosts and then let the young people enjoy this very special day for them.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much, and thanks for observations. And let's go back to Peggy. Thanks.
Thank you, Errol. I have a very special guest, and she is, of course, the wife of our queen, Mrs. Story Charbonnet, and we're just chatting here. A busy, busy day. Great dress.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So many details.
Well, you usually find me in sweat clothes and workout clothes, so this is my not everyday attire.
When did you find out that Story would be?
I found out in October. We were walking Audubon Park, and he previously had been asked to do a nice honor in an organization and didn't want to tell me. He took the secrecy thing so seriously. So I did not know until the night the whistle was handed to him. So I was a little taken aback by that, and I said, "Don't you ever surprise me again." So luckily, he told me right after he found out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, you're originally from Atlanta, and
well, actually, I'm originally from North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yes, Story and I met in Atlanta. Yes.
And I understand you hired him.
Well, I was a second-year analyst. Well, yes, a second-year analyst, and I knew that he had a lot of energy. So I thought, well, this is a good person to hire because it'll make my workload a lot easier. So it was really awesome. We actually didn't date until I left, and we were really good friends all through the time, and it worked out great.
Well, that means a lot, too.
Yes, yes.
But
yes.
all these details of the last few months, I'm sure it's been crazy.
Yes, it is. There's a lot going on. The clothes, just the decisions, the transportation schedule, the dozens of hours we spent. I had no idea that there was this much behind the scenes. I go out in the parade and I grab my beads, and I don't think about all the behind the scenes things. So I've been really impressed with the Rex organization. It's just been phenomenal, the whole thing.
Well, you can add something else to your credentials here, event management, right? In terms of
I don't know if I could do it, but I sure was glad somebody else did it for us. Yeah.
But so very much fun. So what's going to happen tomorrow?
Tomorrow I am going to sleep really late. I'm not a morning person as it is, and the lack of sleep over the past couple of days is going to catch up to me. So Story will probably be up. He'll be at work at probably 6:30 in the morning, ready for the market, and he knows to leave me alone and let me. He doesn't need sleep. I do. So.
But, you know, as you said, there is a lot of energy with our monarch, and and he cares so deeply about education.
Yes, it's wonderful. It really is. It's been one of those things that moving here to New Orleans and the whole Katrina, you know, seeing the progress and the passion he's put into it. And, you know, as a wife, sometimes I felt like I was kind of like short change, and I was like, you know, what about me? But now seeing it all come to fruition, it's nice to have him recognized for all the time he put into the city.
Absolutely. Now, in his spare time, he likes to hunt and fish. Do you like to hunt and fish?
Well, I didn't grow up hunting and fishing, but I have 3 boys. We have 3 boys, and I figured if I wasn't going to, if I wanted to spend time with my children and my husband, I might as well join the activities. I don't necessarily do the actual hunting. I fish a lot, but I always like to be outside and outdoors, and we love our time, whether it's Jackson Hole with his parents when Dottie was alive, or here in Mississippi and in Texas. We have a good time. Yeah.
You know, I was really thrilled that his dad's here tonight.
I know. He is. It's good for him. He's sad, but he's doing a great job. He really is. This is a passion for the Charbonnet family, and I love seeing him with his family and everybody having a great time.
Yes. I love the fact that he surprised you. But what about keeping a secret? Has it been hard? Like, don't you want to tell somebody?
It's been really
My
hard.
husband's going to be wrecked.
No, it's been so hard, and we just decided that we were going to take this seriously. Like, we were not going to tell this to anybody. And sometimes it messes people up because, you know, I think about like back in the 1800s when they had wrecks, nobody would fly off to ski on a Monday morning. No. You know, or you wouldn't worry about a friend of yours in New York going to get down here, or you couldn't even communicate with a friend in New York. Mm-hmm. So this, it's a little odd now, but we really decided just to completely keep it a secret, and we did a good job. I think a lot of people were surprised, and it kind of made it fun. I jokingly say I've gotten really good at lying. I think I should go to Vegas, have my poker face now. So it's been fun.
What did you do today? Walk us through that.
Well, I slept in. I didn't make the Royal Run, but that was nice because I knew I'd be better through the end of the night. Story went there. We got picked up, and it was a fabulous ride down St. Charles with people waving, with the police escorts, and we got to the Hotel Intercontinental and had a lovely brunch and kind of practice for the Dukes and maids, and so we had a great lunch and then watched the parade, and then I came home, and basically by the time I turned around to get ready for tonight, I don't really think I sat down very long and whisked ourselves down here. So it's kind of a whirlwind. My family's in from North Carolina. I think this is a shell shock for them. They're like, wow.
Yes, yes. Well, hopefully your family can see it out of town on YouTube because we're on.
Well, my mom and dad and my sister and my brothers are here, so that's good. So they're here. Yes. So they're able to actually see it firsthand, so that's nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and thinking about all this, was learning about Carnival a bit of an adjustment, or?
I would say so. From an out-of-towner, this is not something you can really describe to other people. And, you know, coming into this family, I knew, you know, I had to sometime embrace it, but I kind of took it at my own pace. I liked that nobody kind of, you know, pushed it on me real fast. Dottie was just so gracious, and whenever I had a question, she would help me out with, you know, just what to wear, when to stand up, when to sit down, and so it was, you know, so bit by bit I started warming up to it, and now seeing the Pro Bono Publico Foundation and what it's done for the city, I get it. I get the whole package.
Well, it's wonderful. And we saw Mrs. Charbonnet, Dottie, of course.
I know.
But thank you so much for visiting with us.
Thank you. It was so nice to talk.
Really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you.
And now let's go back over to Errol to meet the parents of the Queen of Carnival, Mr. and Mrs. H. Merritt Lane III.
Well, I'm honored to have the royal family here. What has your day been like? What was the first thing y'all did this morning after getting up and connected with this reign?
Well, we woke up very early, the whole family, Sarah and her 2 sisters, and we actually went to the Royal Run. And
I understand the Queen won the Royal Run.
She did. It was exciting, and just hundreds of people came out, and it was so amazing to see the support and honestly what the run means to the city. And it's an amazing event and a great way to kick off the day, so we were excited.
And I rode with my brothers-in-law and my brother on one float, and we went through the streets and eventually got to see Sarah at the Royal Box, which was great fun.
That must have been a real thrill to see her up there.
It was so much fun. We put some special throws together and got them to her, and a big bouffe gras, and saw that big smile. It was so much fun.
Did you have a lot of family that came in for this?
We had a lot of family, a lot of friends from all over the country, and it's made it so special. Really has been incredible. So showing them what it's like to be in the Big Easy, so it's been great.
Now, being a queen impresses me as putting extra responsibility on the mom, especially in terms of the dress and that sort of thing.
Yes, I think it really started with the dress, and I had a conception pretty immediately because I am obsessed with flowers, and so I'm like, wow, I haven't seen a kind of a floral theme in a couple of years, and then we just kind of went with it and came up with a couple of ideas to include dogwood, magnolias, irises, and rose leaves. And so we worked with Suzanne St. Paul, and she worked the magic after that. So
now tell us the story again about how you told her she was going to be queen.
So we were trying to have a family gathering up in New York over Easter, and the weather got terrible, and so our girls could not fly up and join us there. So we went back to New Orleans, and I had to come up with something, so we created a PowerPoint presentation with a whole bunch of family history and pictures. And the punchline, we showed it to Sarah right before going out to a family dinner, and she was not particularly interested in this PowerPoint, as she was being polite watching it. And then the punchline was, who's going to be Queen of Carnival 2020? And it said, it's you, babe. And If Ever I Cease to Love started playing, and she looked at me like, what? I said, no, honey, it is you. You're going to be the Queen of Carnival. So it was great.
I've wondered this about all girls to become queen. Do you think they might at least have in the back of their mind that maybe there's a possibility that they might be?
I think Sarah, being a middle daughter, was thinking it just wouldn't be possible, and she was just so incredibly shocked. She really was, but I think the best part that kind of made Sarah feel so great once she found out is her sisters were in on the secret, and they're so close, so it kind of helped kind of ease the shock of what was happening, because they're like, you can do this, you're going to be great, and the support has been incredible, and it's been really important for them to have known the secret all along, because we couldn't really share it with anyone, which was hard. So
now she goes to the University of Virginia, and the Queen of Comus goes to the University of Virginia, and Rex went to the University of Virginia. Now we don't know about Comus because we don't know who he is, but should the University of Virginia start declaring a holiday on Ash Wednesday just for the New Orleanians?
That would be really handy, since the Queen is going to be getting on a flight at 9 tomorrow morning to fly back, to get back into her coursework and take some tests. It would be very kind of the university to take Ash Wednesday off. That would be great.
Well, maybe we should advance that cause. Thank you all very much. Hope you have a great night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Errol. And once again, you're seeing the dance floor live from the Sheraton on Canal Street, and we're at the Rex Ball. We're thrilled. In a little while we'll be going to the Comus Ball, but we love being here. And you know, in addition to, of course, pursuing her college studies, this year's Queen of Carnival, Sarah Eleanor Lane, is very focused on community service, as we'll discover in this interview. Sarah Eleanor Lane, the 2020 Queen of Carnival, received the news of her regal status in a high-tech way.
My dad passed me a PowerPoint on his computer with family history and pictures of Mardi Gras, and I was so confused because I just really wasn't expecting it. I wasn't catching on. So it really took him looking at me in the eye and saying, Sarah, you're going to be the next Queen of Carnival, for me to really understand what was happening. But it was a very special night, and I got to spend it with my parents and my sisters.
The daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Harry Merritt Lane III, Miss Lane is a junior at the University of Virginia.
I'm studying foreign affairs, and I'm minoring in global culture and commerce. I lived in DC last summer and worked on Capitol Hill, which was an amazing experience. So Hopefully I'll end up in DC and planning to continue to work in politics.
This year's Queen of Carnival, along with pursuing her studies, gives priority to helping others through her college sorority.
Every year I plan our 2 big philanthropy events, and then throughout the year just try to get everybody involved with local community service around Charlottesville. So they both benefit Reading is Fundamental, which has to do with children's literacy in America. And then additionally, we go to local schools in Charlottesville and read to children. So it's been really special.
While in high school at Isidore Newman, Lane coached students from other schools in maintaining a healthy lifestyle and in running, one of her favorite sports. Memories of Mardi Gras over the years are dear.
So I would spend every Mardi Gras day on the parade route with my sisters watching Rex because my dad was writing, and he would very often make plastic bags for us with beads and stuffed animals and that kind of thing to throw to me and my sisters and our friends. And we would track down his float and sometimes run with him up to a mile just so that he could keep throwing us beads. One of my favorite Mardi Gras memories was when I was in 7th grade. I rode in the truck parade on the Newman float, which was the same day as Rex. And so my dad and one of his friends got off the Rex float and chased my float down so that I could throw to him. So that was probably one of my most special memories of Mardi Gras.
This year's Queen has been very involved with the design of her gown for the ball, which is being created by Suzanne Perrone.
So my mom has come with me to most of the fittings, so it's been really nice being able to see the dress being made along the way. We had an idea of having a very organic dress with more 3-dimensional flowers like dogwoods and magnolias, so it's been really special being able to get to see the making of the dress.
Miss Lane's family has long been involved in Rex.
My great-grandfather, Joseph Merrick Jones, was Rex in 1958. His daughter, Eugenie Jones Yuji, was queen in 1952. I think he would love to know that his granddaughter and 3 of his great-granddaughters were queen, including me. And more recently, I should add that my sister Carolyn was a maid in Rex.
This year's Queen of Carnival expresses her own feelings about her regal experience.
I feel overwhelmingly humbled and excited that this honor has been given to my family. I'm very surprised, but very excited, and I'm looking forward to what's to come.
The Queen of Carnival is wearing a radiant gown with vertical trails of ornate beading, layered with luminous gold silk lame, and encrusted with dimensional floral appliques on the subtle trumpet-shaped gown designed by Suzanne St. Paul. The sweetheart neckline and sweeping train are adorned with additional flowers representing Louisiana, including magnolia, iris, and dogwood. Swarovski crystals, golden shadow stones, bugle beads, and seed beads add radiance to her lustrous, whimsical gown. Artfully placed vines of brilliant floral lace applique wrap the gown. At the neckline is the organization's impressive Medici collar of heavily beaded gold lace covered with crystals, gold bugles, and Swarovski margaritas flowers. The organization's gold mantle with white ermine, trim, and royal jewelry, including a crown and scepter, complete her Royal Majesty's splendid ensemble. And now, though, let's toss it back to Errol to meet a very special guest.
Flexibility. Okay, you know, when they write the history of Carnival, one of the historic figures they're going to have is this man right here, Blaine Kern Sr. Hi, nice to see you.
Man, it's good to see you, buddy. I remember you as almost a little boy, for God's sake. Let me tell you what, I did my first Rex parade, 1952. Came out of the Army, World War II.
Well, there's a famous story. One person helping us tonight is Mr. French, who's a descendant of Darwin Fenner. And Darwin Fenner was the man when he was captain of Rex. He's the guy who went, got you, gave you a chance, and sent you to Italy.
Nice. Sent me to Via Reggio in Italy, Carnival in Nice, and then to Valencia, Spain. He was like a daddy to me. Walt Disney came to town, looked at the floats, asked me to come to work for him. I told him, Darwin said, son, you'll be a little fish in a big pond out there. Stay here, Mardi Gras, going to grow, and you'll be a little fish in a big pond. Let me tell you something. It was a $250,000 industry then. It's north of $1 billion today.
At the time, I think you were building Ala in Algiers, and when Darwin Finnick came, he took a chance on you.
He was like a dad. He wasn't. I'll tell you what, he chewed me out because I spent too much money on lumber. And he says, $1,700. Chewed me out, then he came back half an hour late with the check, threw it down and said, don't you let that happen again, boy. Listen, God has been good, and that's the main guy in my life. Jesus Christ, everything else, not even secondary.
In all your life, all your career, you've always thought big. You've always been thinking, how can we do something bigger than we've done?
Aircraft carrier, built a gondola across the river. I've done things. I went to the Amazon, had real Zulu warriors in front of the Zulu parade. Oh, man. Hey, fellas, God's good for all of us, and that's what it's all about.
Is there anything you wanted to do that you didn't get to do yet?
Oh, yeah, man. Too many dreams yet. Too many things still on my mind.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations for your role on Mardi Gras. It's very, very historic. It's great to see you. Okay, let's go back to Peggy.
Okay. And they're starting to clear the floor because we have a very special guest who's going to be coming. It's the captain of Comus with a very royal invitation. Hello, Arthur Hardy.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Publisher of Arthur Hardy's Mardi Gras Guide, now in its
44th year.
44th year. But who's counting? We are.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
I started it when I was 4 years old.
That's right. How was your day?
Fabulous. Had a wonderful ride. Crowds were terrific, friendly, people sharing things. You throw it to this guy I met for him, handing it up. I mean, really, the generosity of people is phenomenal.
You've got a little show and tell here.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to put this up carefully because no one has really, not many people have seen this, have they? Okay.
No, these are band badges given to the children that march in the parade. They did this 1974 to 1991, I believe, then stopped for some reason, and then picked it up again in 05. Highly collectible. You're going to see them on eBay. There are actually people who walk up to the band kids and say, give you $20 for your band badge, kid. And most of them say, sure. But it's a neat collectible.
Arthur, we're thrilled that you're with us. We want to talk a little bit, as we're waiting for the captain, about some other Mardi Gras memories. For instance, the Duke and Duchess.
The Duke and Duchess.
Anniversary of Windsor we're talking about.
70 years ago, they came here. And wouldn't you love to have been at that ball?
The Duke and Duchess of Windsor, man.
Just a wonderful thing. You know, they stayed at the St. Charles Hotel on Fat Tuesday, met Mayor Chet Morrison at Gallier Hall, then reviewed the Rex Parade from the Boston Club, then went to Antoine's for lunch, then went to the Beauregard House for cocktails. Then, not many people know this, Royal Street to Channel 6 to see the Comus Parade. Then, of course, they came and did the wonderful bow and curtsy before the make-believe monarchs of Mardi Gras.
And the question was, who was going to bow to whom? But they bowed.
They bowed. They got it. And it's just a wonderful Mardi Gras memory. And of course, in the Municipal Auditorium, that wonderful view. I wish we still had it.
So we so missed that. Yes, but Beauregard Kai's, Beauregard Kai's. They went and visited with Francis Parkes and Kai's.
Yes,
and
had cocktails there.
And I know we also wanted to talk about that the first Queen of Carnival was not 1872, which is, of course, when the first parade was.
1873, Mrs. Walker Fern, who was surprised when the king that year, E.B. Wellock, I guess, came over and said, "You're my queen." But the story was that she was on her honeymoon. Not so. She was married and had 3 children at the time. She was born in Kentucky, a very prominent family. 11 kids. She was the only female.
Mobile, huh? Out of Mobile, I understand.
Yeah.
Which initially lived there.
And related to Ulysses S. Grant, lived in Mexico and Cuba, in Paris at the end of the Civil War, then came to the United States, got married at the age of 16, and became the first Rex Queen.
You know, we should point out that the Comus Ball starts at 9 o'clock, while, of course, the Rex Ball started at 8.
Yep.
So, and that is happening across the street.
Yes, it is.
At the Marriott. And so to have the captain come over here and to offer a royal invitation is very dear, because it's all a big, wonderful setting up of the meeting of the courts.
Yeah.
That's first started, what is it, 1882?
82?
I think 84. I could be wrong. I have to check my magazine. I can't remember everything I wrote, Peggy.
But that tradition is such a sweet one, isn't it?
It is, and this is all about tradition. My daughter and son-in-law who live in Norway are in town, and this is his first Mardi Gras, is blown away at why do we do all this and how wonderful it is. And you know, it's tradition. That's why we do it. And he's enjoyed it very much. And it's good to see Mardi Gras from the eyes of somebody that has never seen it before.
Did you ride today?
I did, and it was just fabulous.
What float were you on?
I'm always on the jester float. I'm the lead guy on what I call the passenger side, because in Rex you can't say neutral ground side because the neutral ground moves when Rex turns. He makes that little jag towards the Diamond House. But it was a great day, and just people in such a good mood, you know.
And we lucked out with the weather.
Yeah, why can't we keep this 365 days a year?
That's right. And I know we've had, you know, of course, tragedy during this carnival, and of course the newspaper. You've talked about what must be done, or you know, some suggestions.
Yeah, I just think, you know, we can't reinvent this whole thing. We just have to tweak it a bit, and I'm sure we have a lot of time now to study it and see how can we make it better. But when you realize how many floats and how many millions of people and how many years, and we've had so few accidents of this nature, it's remarkable. It really is. And we have to keep it in perspective. But you know, one death, of course, is too many, and everybody grieves for the families.
Absolutely. You know, we have to remind everyone that our coverage of the Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus will repeat in its entirety immediately following this broadcast. And we're really thrilled about that, because what happens is a lot of the folks who are here, I understand, go home and watch themselves on TV.
Hey, I'm
going to. Which would be so much fun.
I get to see me on TV. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's a whole lot of fun. But they're clearing the dance floor, and you know, one thing we pointed out earlier is that this is really more of a reception as opposed to a ball.
It really is. This is not a tableau ball, and never was intended to be so. And I've had people ask, do you have to mask if you go to the Rex Ball? No, I don't think so.
No. And actually, the members don't dress out.
No, they don't. Well, they dress in you know, white tie, of course, and this is about as dressed up as I ever want to get.
But we should point out, when we go to the Comus side, they do dress out.
Yeah. And that's, again, a tradition, and there's so much variety and diversity in Mardi Gras. Everybody does their own thing, and I think that's why it works. That's its strength, really.
You know, we always have to remind ourselves in terms of the past. I mean, 1872 here, the 1850s with Comus.
And actually, yesterday was the 168th anniversary of the first Comus parade. In 1857, it was February 24th. 2 floats, and now when you think about how big Mardi Gras has become, it's amazing.
And also defining the word crew. Where does that come from? Organized.
Old English sounding things, spelling with the K. The whole deal. They started it all, and it continues today.
Clearing the dance floor.
Here we go.
And once again, our royalty, Mr.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. The captain of the mystic crew of Comus has arrived to present an invitation to His Majesty Rex to visit the Comus Ball.
The captain of Comus. And I am thrilled, our dear viewers, because through the magic of television and Carnival, he will be handing one of the pages, the invitation, the royal invitation, which will be read by our monarchs, and will be able to read that to you. We're hearing Dancing Butterfly, what a wonderful tune from the 1930s. Our pages. We're hearing the musicians of the LPO. And let me read to you the missive. Greetings, King's story. Yes, you over there, talking to your queen without a care. I have a proposition I wish to make to you and ask your consent to see it through. Rex is lucky to have you as its royal number one, good shepherd and choice, two things that you've done having to do with the schools. But it's pro bono publico, where you've made great impact fighting for our city's children, and that's a fact. You and your court are invited to visit me a short distance. You surely will see. There'll be no ducks to hunt or fish to reel. Instead, we'll have a fun night. That's the deal. Please accept my invitation, which is most sincere. You will be one of 3 on the throne who are cavaliers, referring to UVA. Tonight, it's for revelry and fun, and not a moment of resting. Tomorrow, you can get back to your stock market investing.
A little bit of humor there.
Very, very good. And so in just a few minutes, our court will indeed be departing over to the other side, to the Marriott, where the Comus Ball is being held. Sarah Eleanor Lane.
And they're about to walk on the red carpet.
They are.
Goes across Canal Street.
And they're going to cross Canal Street. The weather complied, thankfully.
Yeah.
And we're also hoping that we'll get to see that. We usually are able to do the crossing over the street. But you know, just in case, there are limousines waiting if the weather was bad.
Oh, I didn't know
They always
that,
have that. It's a whole lot of effort, but they feel like it's worth it. Just
I like to see the stunned faces of tourists outside when they, what is this?
Yes.
It's Mardi Gras is what it is.
It is
and it's
Mardi
what we
Gras.
do.
Yes. Mr. Story Charbonnet. We had so much fun just now interviewing his wife and talking about all the preparation and how hard it is to keep a secret.
Can only imagine.
Yeah.
I'll read.
See Mr. Christy Brown, a longtime Rex organization official. He's done so much for the organization.
One of the nicest men in Carnival, too.
Yes. One last look. By the way, we would definitely credit Mardi Gras Productions for a wonderful set. The backdrop.
Fabulous.
They have over 500 events that they do across America, many of them, of course, locally and even around the world. Blaine Kern Jr. has been long involved since 1986 with his own company. And, of course, he is the son of Blaine Kern Sr., who got to see a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I didn't get to hear it, but I'm going to see it tonight when I get home.
Yeah. But
I love him.
They did a great job. He's assisted by Steve Connect. And the set tonight just looks so very elegant.
You don't even know you're in a hotel.
No, you don't. It's totally been transformed. Here's our Rex Dukes and our maids.
did the Comus group seem to get here a little earlier this year?
They did. They certainly did. Everything's going earlier this whole day, right?
You know, we used to call it the midnight meeting of the courts. I don't know if it ever was really at midnight.
Exactly. It used to take place at 11:30 and end at midnight.
Yeah,
and now, of course, it's 10:30. Yeah. And for so many years on Channel 6.
Yes, WDSU.
And then in 1997.
Started doing this in 1940.
Now is
started our
invited to
broadcast.
participate in the dancing.
And now it's time to revisit Errol. He has another special guest, Rear Admiral John Nadeau.
Thank you very much. If you think being in charge of the Coast Guard means like patrolling Lake Pontchartrain, it's a lot bigger than that. Here's the admirals in charge of the whole region. What does your region consist of?
Hey, good afternoon, good evening. It extends all the way from the border with Mexico, Texas, across to the Panhandle of Florida, then northward, all part of 26 states, everything pretty much from the Rockies to the Appalachians, the catch basin. So all the rivers, western rivers, and then the Gulf Coast.
A lot of people think of the Coast Guard in terms of rescue, but the mission of the Coast Guard from the very beginning has been more different than that.
Yeah, we have 11 missions. Search and rescue is probably one of the more visible ones. People see us. You see the boats in the water, you see the helicopters, and they do great work. There's 10 others, including ice breaking, to marine safety, to security. We have people overseas fighting with the Navy, keeping things secure all over the globe. We're all over the world.
I'd imagine that the ice breaking part's pretty easy here.
Yeah, very easy in my district. Yes, you're right, Errol. It's quite easy. But we just had our one polar icebreaker just returned from the South Pole. They were on their way back, actually, from the South Pole. They go down every year to break in to get the supplies to McMurdo, where there's important work being done by the National Science Foundation.
Now, when the Coast Guard was first established, it was made a part of the Treasury, I guess mostly for tariffs and tax collection. But now it's part of Homeland Security, which says a whole lot about the mission now.
It's evolved quite a bit, yeah. As a young nation, Alexander Hamilton in 1790 said, hey, we need a way to raise some funds. He created the Revenue Cutter Service. They went out and collected revenues of people coming to the young country. Now that's evolved so far. We've added everything from the Lighthouse Service to the Bureau of Marine Inspection and Navigation, and you name it. We got, again, 11 distinct missions, and now a big part of it is security.
And of course, with the Port of New Orleans, the impact that something going wrong in New Orleans could have on the nation, that protecting the city is very important.
I'll tell you what, the waterways here, the river system, that is the lifeblood of our economy in this country. Trillions of dollars, over $5.4 trillion a year generated by the waterways and by the marine transportation system. 30 million U.S. jobs that are supported by that waterway system. Every soybean that's growing up north makes its way down the Mississippi to the Mississippi River right here, where it gets on a deep draft ship to go somewhere else around the globe. This is where our brown water meets blue water. Whether you're in New Orleans, you're in Houston, the waterways are critical to this economy in this country.
Now, in the world of Carnival, something very disturbing happened today in Italy, in that the Carnival in Venice was canceled because of that virus, which is spreading in Italy. Is that part of your responsibility too?
So we are involved. We're screening ships and people as they come in to this country to make sure they don't pose a threat. We'll work with all our partners, whether it's CBP, the CDC, and others, to make sure that we're properly screening those arriving from afar to make sure that they're not posing a threat to us.
How many people are under your command?
Roughly, I'd say about 5,000, including active duty, civilian, or reserves. And then we have another big volunteer service, about 5,000 volunteers here within the 8th District.
Now, the search and rescue part, is that primarily like in the lakes, or how about upstates in the rivers? Is there much there?
There is. Unfortunately, accidents happen everywhere. We do have people up and down the river system that do help protect, and they work at a lot of port partners. And then we have small boat stations all across the Gulf Coast, and also, of course, our helicopters and our aviation assets that perform search and rescue wherever it needs to be done.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you for all your great work.
Thank you.
Let's go back to Peggy. Peg?
Thank you, Errol. You know, this year, the Rex Parade was designed and constructed with more than a nod to the past, as Will French shows us.
Did you know that when Mardi Gras was very young in New Orleans, it was all about the artistry? Consider a time before the internet,
before television, even before radio. Not many people had exposure to fine art in their daily lives. In fact, very few probably had a chance to visit museums. Well, Rex brought fine art to the masses. Take a look at this picture. It's Mardi Gras Day on Canal Street, and Rex is rolling. The year is 1913.
Notice anything strange? You do, don't you? There's not a hand in the air. Much different from today's parades that throw all sorts of beads, doubloons, cups, you name it. Back then, the crowds came out to see the huge rolling displays of public art created by the Rex organization. And of course, to see the monarch himself.
So people came from all over the world to see rolling works of art. They didn't come to catch beads or cups or doubloons or anything else. And those surviving pictures that show those crowds just in awe of rolling tableau created just for that occasion, those pictures make me smile. And it reminds me why we continue to build beautiful floats and design and think ahead and give people that opportunity to enjoy that kind of a procession. When you're riding in the parade, nearby the float, it's just a din, people clamoring for beads and for cups and for throws. But if you look past that group, you look onto the sidewalk, onto the neutral ground, you see lots of people just standing back, just looking at beautiful rolling works of art. That's really true to our beginnings, true to our artistic traditions, and it makes me very proud.
As a female designer, I find it particularly inspiring how many women were early designers in Mardi Gras. A lot of the early floats were built by workers at the opera houses. They were the popular entertainment at the time, and I find really connected to that history that a lot of the techniques we use today are very much still grounded in the 19th century stagecraft with a stretched muslin over a wooden frame and the paper mache and the wired flowers and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to be part of that history of artists.
This year the Rex organization is doing something very special. We're returning to our artistic roots. This year the entire parade was built by hand, bringing back the delicacy and the craftsmanship and the splendor of the golden era of Rex parades, and bringing this unique art form to the people of New Orleans and its throngs of visitors from around the world. With Rex, once again, it's all about the artistry. What more would you expect from an organization whose real name is the School of Design?
And Arthur had to leave, but he did tell me that the winners of the band contest in show style was Warren Easton, and in the core category was Riverside Academy. So congrats to both of them. Now Errol has another very special guest, Superintendent of Police, Sean Ferguson. Errol?
Right, here's a man whose hand has really been full the last couple of weeks. Let's start with the good news. Today, everything seemed to go well.
Today was a beautiful day. Lovely crowd, lovely weather. The parades moved well without any breakdowns. Actually, at times this year were much faster than last year.
Yeah, I mean, they really seem to move fast this week.
Yes, I mean, it was just the organization. Everything just flowed very well. Everyone was on time, and again, no breakdowns. That was the best thing that we could have had.
I remember last year the truck parades were still rolling, and it was almost sunset, and it's all kind of a domino effect from one to the other. But man, everything was just finished.
Yes, I mean, we had numerous breakdowns last year. Zulu had a couple of breakdowns, as well as the truck parades had a few breakdowns last year, which extended our time.
Now, Carnival has many moving parts. Most of those parts work well, as we know. We had some that didn't work too well. What lesson does this year's Carnival give you?
You know, we had these two unfortunate incidents this year, which give us an opportunity to all look at ourselves. I'd like to thank Rex because they have really taken the lead with us in making sure that we all take a step back and look at what exactly it is that we're doing and how could we make Mardi Gras safer for everyone. So we will be getting together immediately following this Carnival season so that we can prepare for a better Carnival season next year.
It seems like what people are talking the most about is the tandem floats, which is a major problem, but it seems like given the year to look at it and analyze it, that it's a fixable problem.
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind we will be able to resolve this. And I won't say that the tandem floats were exactly the problem, but however, we had two incidents involving tandem floats, so that is why I made that decision. But I think there are a few opportunities or a few options that we may have that we can look at to rectify this situation.
And one of the great rituals in Carnival has always been what happens at midnight when the police, most of them riding horses, when they go down Bourbon Street, and they gently spread the message that Carnival is over. Are you going to be out there tonight?
Absolutely. At 12 midnight, myself, our public safety team, along with our mayor, and all of our federal, state, and local partners will be with us this year, walking out there to signify this is the end of Carnival 2020.
It's really, it's an interesting psychological strategy. You know, just say, you can stay here, but you got to move. You just can't be sitting around.
Yeah, like you see, it is an interesting psychological strategy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. But for the most part, everyone understands, and it's a tradition that we love very much.
And it's really the last parade of every carnival.
Pretty much the very last one of every carnival season.
Okay. Well, Chief, thank you very much, and thank you for all your work during this carnival.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Errol. And looking back a century and a half century ago gives us a glimpse into Carnival's rich past, as Diane Mack reminds us.
Mardi Gras 100 years ago was a pivotal moment in Carnival history, for it marked a revival of the celebration following a 2-year absence during World War I and its aftermath. Despite great anticipation for the return of Mardi Gras on February 17, 1920, dismal weather and the passage of the 18th Amendment the previous month dampened enthusiasm for the citywide celebration.
The temperatures were in the 40s, it was raining. We also have to remember that Prohibition had also just started. So it was the first dry Mardi Gras, and I'm sure that was a major adjustment for everybody wanting to celebrate Carnival. I mean, think about carnival balls with no champagne.
In the first formal celebration of Carnival after the war, Rex was the only crew to parade.
The Rex parade theme in 1920 was Life's Pilgrimage. The parade had to do with the evolution of man's life. The very first float in the parade was entitled Good and Evil Cast Lots for the Soul. And then the very last float in the parade was the Dawn of a New Day, which certainly feels like it has a lot of symbolism for this return to Carnival celebrations after the war.
Rex in 1920 was John F. Clark, owner of a cotton brokerage firm and president of the New Orleans Cotton Exchange. Clark's royal consort was Eleanor Bright, who was the oldest living queen of Carnival at the time of her death in 1998, just 6 months shy of her 100th birthday.
She was descended from one of the very first men to reign as Rex, a man named William Mealy, who was Rex in 1879. Her brother, Edgar Bright Sr., was a duke in her court and went on to reign as Rex in 1956. She had a great niece who was named for her, Eleanor Spicer Bright, who was Queen of Carnival in 1983, and even a great-great-niece, Ella Bright, was Queen of Carnival in 2012.
Eleanor was a modern young woman who adopted a post-war style for her queen's dress, with a hemline that was below the knee instead of floor length, a first for a Queen of Carnival. Another interesting aspect of Eleanor's reign involves the photography session for her formal Carnival portraits in the Bright family home on St. Charles Avenue.
She was dressed beautifully in her full regalia, and the photographer that they worked with was a man named Arthur P. Badu. He was probably the most high-profile African-American photographer working in New Orleans at the time. The story about how Eleanor and her prominent Carnival family came together with this renowned African-American photographer taking this beautiful set of portraits of her is a story we may never know.
The highlight of Mardi Gras 1920 was the visit to New Orleans by General John J. Pershing, commander of the American Expeditionary Force in Europe during World War I.
He went to the Boston Club to review the Rex Parade, standing next to Eleanor Bright, and then they had lunch after the parade. He attended the Rex Ball that night and actually did bow very gracefully and diplomatically to the Queen of Carnival.
In an oral history of Eleanor made in the 1980s by the Friends of the Cabildo, she recalled meeting General Pershing.
General Pershing and his aides were down here for the carnival. They came to all the parties. In fact, he stood with me that night. And I think people were more interested in seeing General Pershing than they were in seeing me.
50 years later, the King of Carnival was Ashton Phelps Sr., who was well known in the city as the president and publisher of the Times-Picayune and States Item newspapers. His queen was Linda Young.
The Queen of Carnival in 1970 also had quite the carnival pedigree. Her grandfather, William Waller Young Sr., had been Rex in 1952, and her father, William Waller Young Jr., had been King of Carnival in 1987.
Linda Young Williams, who reigned in 1970 alongside the Queen of the Mystic Crew of Comus, Lynn Howard, will be honored this year as the 50-year anniversary queen, and in keeping with a time-honored tradition, she will be presented at the Rex Ball to their majesties, the King and Queen of Carnival.
So very nice to look back, but let's go very forward because Errol has councilperson, longtime councilperson Jackie Clarkson and her daughter, amazing actress Patricia Clarkson, over on the other side of the other set. Take a look.
So we sent one of our scouts into the audience and said, see if you can find somebody kind of unusual with a topic we haven't talked about. And they found the honorary consul general to Lithuania and her daughter. So we're going to talk about Lithuania, but first of all, let's talk about Mardi Gras. Jackie Clarkson, former member of the city council, and of course we all know the superstar here, Patty Clarkson. Patty, you tell, when you were a girl growing up in Algiers, you participated in Mardi Gras.
Well, yes, I marched in parades, remember, as a chargerette. I was O'Berry Walker. I was a chargerette. I marched in parades. I marched in parades at O'Berry Walker.
Now, as a chargerette, did you just make hand job, or did you have a flag?
No, we danced and we did our routines, and Dad took us down the streets. But I, of course, participated in Mardi Gras. Everybody does. Like, it's a part of your life. But I was not at Rex when I was a young girl. So.
No, were you in Algiers? Algiers is a whole different world right there.
It's a different world,
and
yeah.
you're part of that. Now, Jackie, as a member of the council, you probably got to participate in Mardi Gras in ways you didn't want to. There were times when there were some pretty tough ordinances and some pretty tough issues. But before that, as a girl, did you participate?
Yes, my family participated quite a bit in Mardi Gras. And my mother started one of the first women's group that didn't march. They just had a ball, didn't parade, they just had a ball. And my father, of course, as head of NOR, was invited to everything. So when we were growing up, we went to lots of balls, lots of parades. And I mean, it was like Patty said, it's part of your lifestyle. I mean, you wouldn't even dream of not doing Mardi Gras.
What was the name of your mother's group?
Pandora. It was the original.
Oh, she started, yeah, Pandora, I remember that.
Yeah. And but the best part of it was, because of my father, we had so many friends, we got invited to so much. And it was wonderful. And
her father was so civically prominent, and so, yeah.
Well, and we went to everything that we were invited to because it's the proper thing.
Well, your father was Johnny Brechtel, and he was a founder. He was the founder of NORD, and so he always had a theatrical side to him.
Yes, he was not only a coach, but he was also a thespian. So we got invited by people from all over the world. But it was, and then when I went to the city council, primarily to rebuild NORD, I got invited to everything, and I went, and I loved it. And I'm still called and asked to come represent people, come to the balls and represent peoples, and bring proclamations, which I can't do anymore, but I can go ask for some. But I think there's people from all around the country that I've been friends with, either through family, real estate, council of corps. I've brought in as many as I could to Mardi Gras, and they all want to come back.
Patricia, with your life and schedule, I guess you don't get to come to Mardi Gras as often.
I don't, sadly. Although I've been Queen of Muses. Not once, but twice. And it is the double biggest honor of my life. So
and this year was Muses' 20th anniversary, so twice in 20 years.
No,
is pretty good.
I'm very thankful, but it's very beautiful to be here tonight. Rex is a beautiful ceremony. I had one of my dearest friends. His niece made her debut tonight. So there's a Mardi Gras represents every aspect and every soul of this city. Okay. And to see the mayor here tonight, come on, Mom, that was amazing.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Next time we're gonna have to talk about Lithuania. Okay. We don't have time right now. Okay. But thank you all very much.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to Peggy.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Thank you all so very much. And now, though, let's thank those who have made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2020 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support.
Hancock Whitney's roots date back to 1899, and we're still moving forward. We're on a mission to help you achieve your dreams. Hancock Whitney, your dream, our mission.
The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company, bringing you the authentic taste of the South since 1902. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans tradition since 1898. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Brennan's Restaurant offers modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine. Served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter. 417 Royal Street. Home Care Solutions, compassionate in-home elder care to extend your loved one's independence. And by Richard Certified Public Accountants, richardcpas.com.
Hi, I'm Emmett Dupas. At Bienville Capital Group, we specialize in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their retirement goals so that they can enjoy life's journeys.
And now here's Errol once again with the head of the Marine Forces Reserve Band, Chief Warrant Officer Eric Kahn.
The Marine Band I always thought is the best band in Mardi Gras. When you look at the musicianship and all those cool moves that you all make, all those, I mean, they're entertaining to watch and they're great to listen to. Here's the guy who's in charge of it. Tell us how many musicians you have now.
Yeah, right now currently at the band we have 56 Marines, all active duty. And it's such an honor to perform for the city of New Orleans and Louisiana as a whole. So it's been a lot of fun.
So is their main responsibility being in the band, or is it...
That's absolutely right. Our primary job, our MOS, is being a bandsman. But there's also so much more that comes to it. Getting folks here, getting all the music together. In fact, some of our Marines prepared the music for tonight. So it's been it's a really challenging job.
Everyone has to know how to handle a rifle, too.
Oh yeah, that's number one for us. Every Marine is a rifleman, so that's the first thing. Everyone goes to recruit training just like any other Marine. So yeah, it's very important.
So you all are located in New Orleans. Well, how many different types of bands do you have?
Oh, we've got a handful of ensembles, a brass quintet, a jazz band, jazz combo, you name it. In fact, our rock band was rehearsing up some music because we go out to Houston next week.
For 4th of July, when you all play those patriotic things and all those suits, do you all get tired of those sorts of things?
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I don't think we do. I know a lot of the Marines love this kind of music, but also we have a lot of diversity in the music as well. So we don't get tired on the Sousa marches and everything like that.
I've always thought, like, for the piccolo players, Stars and Stripes Forever is like their big moment every year.
Oh yeah, that's their time to shine. A couple of our Marines, in fact, Lance Corporal Hart, that was her first time actually being featured there, so it's a big deal for her as well.
Now, you all really did some exploring tonight with that version of If Ever I Cease to Love. That was I've heard that song in different forms. That was an interesting version that you had.
Yeah, you know, we think about this ball as a time to be solemn, yet also a party and a kind of like that kind of atmosphere. So we wanted to have a lot of fun.
Have you all marched in many parades this year?
Oh yes, we've I think combined we've marched around 20 parades this year. So.
Okay, well the good news is that Mardi Gras is almost over, so y'all can rest a little bit. Thank you very much for all that you've done. Let's go back to Peggy. Peg?
Thank you, Air. And now here is our second Carnival quiz question.
One of Rex's signature floats depicts an unusual butterfly. Another float's riders are masked as chefs. What are they? Name the floats. We'll have the third and final question a little later in our program. Our Carnival quiz prizes include a one-night stay for two at the Inn at Homus House, which includes a guided tour of the mansion and a plantation breakfast for two, a $350 value. The inn is located on the grounds of Homus House Plantation and Gardens in Burnside, Louisiana, along the River Road. A 2020 Rex Parade Bulletin depicting this year's Rex Parade with its theme Omens and Auguries, illustrated by New Orleans artist Caroline M. Thomas. A 2020 Rex Proclamation. This year's proclamation is by New Orleans artist Molly McGuire. Images of prophets and portents appear, along with Rex symbols, in Ms. McGuire's colorful style. Our prizes include a copy of Mardi Gras Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival by Errol Laborde and published by Pelican. A copy of New Orleans Mardi Gras Moments with photographs by Judy Bottoni and text by me, Peggy Scott Laborde, also published by Pelican. And a DVD of tonight's program. And this year, WYES is planning a fundraising event with a regal theme, all to help us continue to bring you our local and network programs.
Step into the town and country world of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert at the WYES Gala presented by the Oscar J. Thomas Charitable Trust. On Friday, April 3rd, patron reception at 6:30 p.m. with general admittance at 8 p.m. Tickets are available now at WYES.org. Live music, dancing, fabulous food, libations, complimentary valet parking, wine and liquor pull, online auction. Don't miss out on a fun evening benefiting WYES. Special thanks to co-chairs Stephanie and Ludovico Fioli, Claudia and Cleveland Powell, Erica and James Reese. Thank you to these generous sponsors: the Oscar J. Thomas Charitable Trust, Sillery Foundation, Iberia Bank, Michelle Renoir and Kevin Clifford, and to the following.
And we are awaiting the arrival of Rex and his court, but welcome again to our live broadcast. Joining me once again this evening are Errol Laborde. Hi, Air. Hi. Editor of New Orleans Magazine and author of the book Mardi Gras Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival. And Will French is back, too, and he works with Dr. Stephen Hales on preserving and researching the Rex organization's history and historical artifacts. He's also a local attorney and tax credit financier for the film and historic preservation industries. Hey, Will.
Thanks for having me.
Hi
Great
there.
to be here.
And, you know, it's very exciting because we're waiting for the historic meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus. And our court, you can tell it's much more quiet behind us. You may have noticed that because this ball is just about officially over. But we're going to be taking you to the magic of TV across the street to the Marriott, and you'll be able to enjoy the Comus Ball. You know, the motto of the Rex organization is pro bono publico, for the good of the public. For over a decade now, those words have been put into action, as we'll see.
Well, to tell the story of the Pro Bono Publico Foundation, you would actually have to go back to the founding of the Rex organization in 1872. The founders chose as their motto the Latin phrase pro bono publico, or for the public good. Their idea was to have an immediate impact, an immediate positive impact on the city that was still reeling from the Civil War. They actually incorporated the Rex organization under the name School of Design, which reflected their immediate focus on both art and education. The art side is depicted today, as you can see in the rolling works of art, the canvases that are our very own floats that parade through the streets of New Orleans on Mardi Gras Day. The education side is truly embodied in that vision by our foundation, the Pro Bono Publico Foundation, that supports the effort of charter schools here in New Orleans since Katrina.
You know, post-Katrina, New Orleans needed lots of things, but what it especially needed was to have its school system restarted. Charter schools began to open, and Rex members saw a real opportunity to help. They stepped in as board members and started to provide financial support. The Pro Bono Publico Foundation really was an outgrowth of those efforts.
We raise money and then we make grants to public schools, charter management organizations, and supporting organizations. Since inception, we've actually raised $8.5 million, and we're making grants at the clip of about $1 million a year over the last 5 years.
The foundation has supported our work in that it's helped us ensure that more children across this city have a fair chance at financial freedom. Right now, about 80% of our students are on track for industry-recognized credentials in the technology sector. These credentials equip students with skill sets that could afford them a family-sustaining wage directly after high school if a student chooses.
In partnership with Pro Bono Publico at NOMA, we have been able to provide better special education services for our cadets, enhance and innovate our cyber engineering program, develop our athletic program, and even expand our campus to allow an 8th grade to be added to our student body, which has really been beneficial for our program.
Over the last couple of years, we had evolved into making grants to 65 or 70 organizations. Recently, we have made a decision at the board level to focus on strategic grants. And our first strategic grant was to New Schools for New Orleans. And that grant is going to be focused specifically on teacher retention.
We have a retention crisis basically in our city. We lose over 900 teachers annually. So our work has really been around focusing on how do we retain the best teachers.
Pre-Katrina, 54% of the kids in our public schools were graduating from high school. We've now got that number up to 78%. That is a 44% increase. And I think it's largely in part due to the good work that the Pro Bono Publico Foundation has done along with school reform. These dramatic improvements are extremely important for our children's future as well as our city's future. We're very proud of the work that Pro Bono Publico Foundation has played as a leader in supporting all of these outcomes.
I think I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the foundation for the role they've played in this community and to the individual members for their commitment and passion and dedication. And that is sort of, we realize this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. And it requires that kind of leadership for us to get to a world where we actually achieve our aspiration of every single child having the opportunity to attain their wildest dreams. So very, very grateful.
And so what the Rex organization members have done is really stepped up and shown that we live and breathe our motto, Pro Bono Publico.
And of course, congratulations to the Pro Bono Publico Foundation. Well, I know you're very involved in over $8 million.
It really is unbelievable how many lives that foundation has touched over the last more than 10 years. And now giving away money at the clip of over $1 million a year, it's just...
Yeah,
it's terrific.
We have lots more show and tell, and once again, Will, you're the man. You're the man on this because you're also involved not only with Pro Bono Publico, but this year's proclamation. Tell us about it.
So this was done by local artist Molly McGuire. Now Molly's having a big year. She was the featured artist by the Arts Council of New Orleans at Lunafet, and you can just see how vibrant these colors are. And there's a little something different that you might notice with these proclamations. This particular captain likes to tie the proclamation artwork to the theme of the parade, which is a little bit unusual. So this is very much all about our theme, omens and auguries, and you see lots of the imagery that we use in the parades here depicted in the proclamation. Beautiful.
The doubloon.
So the doubloons. Where do we start with doubloons? Do you want to go all the way back to 1960?
I think we need to,
all right.
Since you're sitting here.
So in 1959, late 1959, a local jeweler and an artist named and sculptor named
H. Alvin Sharp.
H. Alvin Sharp walked into the Rex Den and greeted a Rex official and said, "I have this great idea for these coins that you can throw from the floats." And they said, "Are you crazy?" That particular captain, by the way, was Darwin Fenner, my grandfather. He said, "Are you crazy? This is going to hurt people. We can't throw these things." And so Alvin Sharp took a handful of them and threw them directly at Darwin Fenner. Did not hurt him, and he said, "Okay, we may be onto something." They didn't print the date on the first ones because they didn't know if they were going to take off, and they did take off in time. And so the very first Rex doubloons had no date on them. They were done in 1960. They started dating them after that.
Go ahead.
I've heard that in 1960, as the Rex parade was moving, there were rumors going throughout the city that Rex was throwing money, and people getting all excited about But trying to catch money off the Rex Parade.
And there's a silver cup this year on the Rex side here, huh? And apparently trying to be more green.
So this is great. This is a stainless steel cup. We've replaced about 15,000 of our typical plastic cups with these stainless steel cups, and they were a huge hit today. This is meant to keep plastic cups out of storm drains, things like that. A nicer throw that people are going to take home and use throughout the year, and people just love them.
Now, of course, we've shown you the Rex Ducal, the usual Ducal, which is the ladies' favorite pin, and you've seen a lot of them being worn, and the men's Ducal. But there's also another pin that when the king of Carnival decides he wants to give his favors, if you will, to some special friends, and he has it designed.
This is a very special piece of jewelry. It's designed, you know, for each king, each Rex each year, and you see lots of little imagery. The fish, the duck, our Rex is a hunter. The cross swords from the University of Virginia. Note the little clue of PBPF, the Pro Bono Publico Foundation at the top. Rex is the chairman of the foundation. So that people get these before they know who Rex is, and the guessing game starts at that point.
And the swords meaning UVA.
That's right, UVA.
And now, though, let's thank those who have made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2020 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. Chef McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self.
Hancock Whitney's roots date back to 1899, and we're still moving forward. We're on a mission to help you achieve your dreams. Hancock Whitney, your dream, our mission.
Also brought to you by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services. Any challenge, any risk, anywhere in the world. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company, bringing you the authentic taste of the South since 1902. Additional support by Bellwether Technology. The Gustaf Westfeldt McIlhenny Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown since 1817. Brennan's Restaurant offers modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine. Served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter. 417 Royal Street.
Hi, I'm Emmett Dupas. At Bienville Capital Group, we specialize in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their retirement goals so that they can enjoy life's journeys.
And we are thrilled because we're going to be taking you in just a few moments to the Comus Ball, which is held at the Marriott Hotel across the street from the Sheraton. Incredible. Since 1857, Comus really invented Carnival, didn't they, E?
He invented the Carnival parade as we know it, and the traditions, like the use of the word krewe and the style of parade that we have. So he started in 1857, and it became the template for all that followed. Every parade that exists in Carnival today in New Orleans and many throughout the country, really their roots trace back to what Comus started.
You know, and now though, let's take you to the crossing of the Rex Court just moments ago across Canal Street, over to the Marriott. Once again, Mr. Volz and Dr. Engelhardt, our royal trumpeters.
This is such a historic moment. This has been going on for nearly 140 years, the meeting of these two courts and the crossing of one over to the other. Now, it wasn't always done crossing Canal Street. In fact, before Katrina, both balls were held in the Municipal Auditorium. and there were 2 ballrooms in the auditorium, and one could very easily go from one ballroom to the next.
It used to be easy.
It used to be easy. Now a red carpet has to be stretched all across Canal Street for the entire court to process over.
My understanding is there is a plan B in case it rains.
There are limousines on hold in case it rains for everybody to jump in and stay dry. We cannot let this court get wet crossing Canal Street.
Exactly. Errol, as you were starting to say, Comus was there at the beginning, and even the word crew, huh?
Yeah, the word crew is a Comus invention. The secrecy and then the tradition. But I want to mention about the ball is, you know, Rex started 15 years later, and then the tradition of meeting in the courts, I think it was like in the 1880s when it started, and that night the Rex ball was at the Washington Artillery Hall, which is on St. Charles Avenue. The Comus ball was at the French Opera House. Rex that year was Mayor Shakespeare. And it probably took the mayor to pull this off because they probably had to go by carriage and they had to hurry. You can imagine these police carriages, you know, rushing
to the French Opera House.
Yeah, to the French Opera House.
Bourbon and
so that was the beginning of that tradition.
Yes, and we will be able to show you Comus in just a few moments. And Comus, we should point out, is a god, a mythological god. So it is Rex as the king bowing to the god. Is that correct?
Absolutely. In deference to Comus starting it all, Rex represents the people, and Comus represents the tradition and society, and so it's the people bowing to the tradition.
Yeah. And the entrance of Comus is rather mysterious, and also Comus is a much smaller organization than Rex.
It's a smaller organization, and it adheres to secrecy. The identity of Comus is kept. See, we don't know who Comus is. Maybe Will does. He's kind of an insider.
Oh, no.
Okay, now you see how it's dark. Let's point out it's the darkness, but pretty soon we'll see the light, won't we?
Comus loves this mystery, this, you know, in the mist, out of the darkness. Comus, of course, represents chaos and anarchy and potentially excess, and so we're coming on to see Comus now when he's in that state of being somewhat
Yes, it's kind of hard
chaotic.
to see. We'll see more of him a little bit later, too. It's very mysterious. Yes, Comus is, right. You're right, anarchy, the god of revelry. And, of course, you should always be aware of that cup, because what happens with that cup if you take a sip of that cup from a mythological standpoint?
You change into some sort of animal. It's a cup to stay away from. You know, another important difference, I know people misunderstand this, but the early crews, that they were about themselves. They were about what they stood for in society. They weren't trying to serve necessarily a public purpose or anything. They were just being themselves. And even that, you see that Rex very much, as King of Carnival, plays very much of a public role in the community. That's not Comus's bag. Comus is there as the founder and the guardian of the tradition.
And Comus really started for the revelry and the anarchy and the chaos and the fun, and it was getting to the point on Mardi Gras night where it was getting a little bit dangerous. And by the time Rex came along, it served to sort of organize Mardi Gras, bring it into the daylight, and keep things a little bit on surer footing. And what we see now is the culmination of Comus starting and Rex refining, and now everything works beautifully and the world loves Mardi Gras.
Yes, but right, night into day here. But thinking about the way this nighttime parade would wind around what we think of today as the warehouse district and into the quarter, and to take that ride with them.
And the great sight was as it came down St. Charles Avenue, approaching Canal Street.
Let's go to the Comus side and see the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus. The Mystic Crew, Story Charbonnet, Sarah Eleanor Lane. This is the time. Well, and you're meeting for the first time our Queen, Peyton Armistead Lacorn, and Comus himself, whose identity is never revealed.
Never revealed. Every now and then you can start to put two and two together when you see a flag go up the following year on a new house. And that's Comus and Rex put flags on people's houses. You'll never know the year that it happens, but in subsequent years you might be able to solve a mystery.
The meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus.
This is very special for another reason also. They're referring to this as sort of the deja vu meeting of the courts. So these two queens are 2 generations below their one's great aunt and one's grandmother, who were the Queen of Carnival and the Queen of Comus in 1952. And those families were so close, and they loved and celebrated the fact that one could be the queen of each. And now you have the same thing. The families are still just as close, and here these two girls are greeting each other, meeting at the meeting of the courts, and the families are just ecstatic that it's happened for a second time.
Absolutely.
Also, between Rex and the two queens, 3 graduates of the University of Virginia. We don't know about Comus. For all we know, Comus might be too.
Let's just assume that he is.
And our resplendent queen wearing a luminous trumpet silhouette of beaded lace and silver silk lame designed by Suzanne St. Paul. She designed both dresses with the plume motif. Magnificent.
And we're getting into the thing that's really heavy with symbolism here, because we got the meeting of courts, then a little bit later we're going to have the closing of curtains of Carnival. And all of this from here on out is in the hands of the Comus captain. He's running what's left of Mardi Gras now.
Yes.
And he runs a tight ship, and he does a very good job. He's a very hard-working captain.
Yes, indeed. And we'll see shortly them, of course, in their ceremonial march, and they pretty much change off, don't they?
So you'll have Comus, who will march with the Queen of Carnival, and then you'll have Rex, who will march with the Queen of Comus.
Oh yes, with the Grand March and with the IE. This is to me one of the great moments of Carnival.
The word from the rehearsal was, as soon as the monarchs start walking, everybody starts walking. What you're going to see is a very interesting Grand March procession where everybody, every member of the court's moving exactly at the same time, on the floor at the same time. It's great choreography. It's much different than what you've seen on the Rex side or at Comus so far, where it's really just one person at a time with their escort.
Okay, and we'll see more of it shortly, but all of this is happening across the street on Canal Street, historic Canal Street, and we're, basically in the same general area where Carnival has been taking place for so many years, for over 2 centuries, right, Air?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
especially the years at the Municipal Auditorium, when all of it was combined together.
Absolutely.
I don't think we're going to see the auditorium back as a place for carnival balls. With, no building has had the sight lines that the auditorium had, and the auditorium even had balconies where you can sit there.
Yes.
The hotels offer some conveniences that the auditorium didn't.
Notice something different here. Look at the frivolity that happens on the other side of Canal Street. There really is dancing. It's not the reception style of ball like at Rex. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of dancing, a lot of revelry. But again, that goes along with Comus.
Yes, and here they all are, all of the monarchs. And memories of being the Queen of Comus are indelibly etched for some young ladies and are even more special when they are shared. Here's my interview with this year's Queen of Comus, Peyton Armistead-LaCorn.
My earliest memory of Mardi Gras is sitting in the ladder with my dad standing behind me on St. Charles Avenue and watching the parade. I also remember watching Meeting of the Courts on TV, but it was more so to see if I could find my parents on television, and I usually fell asleep before the Meeting of the Courts actually happened.
This year, the 2020 Queen of the Mystic Crew of Comus, Peyton Armistead-LaCorn, will be wide awake Mardi Gras night, busy with her regal duties as the Queen of New Orleans' oldest carnival organization.
Being the Queen of Comus is just a tremendous honor, and it's also really special to me because my grandmother was Queen of Comus almost 68 years ago.
Miss LaCorn is in her 3rd year at the University of Virginia and is majoring in American Studies. The Queen of Comus's volunteer activities center on helping children.
I went to Fiji and I volunteered at a school there where I helped the students with reading and writing. And one summer in high school I also volunteered at the Bright School for the hearing impaired. And most recently with Madison House at UVA, where I go to an elementary school once a week.
One of the most memorable aspects of Miss LaCorn's reign is how she learned that she would be queen. During dinner at her favorite restaurant, her father told her he was preparing a tribute to his mother, Grace Parker LaCorn, Queen of Comus in 1952.
And I told Peyton toward the end of the meal that I wanted to share the tribute, but it ultimately segued into her, honor, the request that she be Queen of Comus.
And my mom presented a picture of my grandmother from when she was queen in her queen's pin.
So right before my mother-in-law died in the spring, I was able to tell her about Peyton being Queen of Comus. And she wasn't aware of much or smiling about much, but she just definitely got a really peaceful smile on her face. I think it really brought her a lot of joy at the end.
In addition to her grandmother, this year's Queen of Comus has relatives who have also worn New Orleans carnival crowns.
My great aunt as Queen of Rex, my first cousin as Queen of Rex, and my sister as Queen of Momus.
Miss LaCorn's Comus ball gown was designed by Suzanne Perrone, but with input from the Queen herself.
When we first started designing the dress, my mom and I brought Suzanne a picture of my grandmother's, and she found this really beautiful lace that had the same sort of organic and natural feel and look that my grandmother has had.
Looking back, Peyton fondly recalls daytime carnival garb from the past.
My earliest costume was a Tinkerbell outfit, but my favorite costume was when my mom and I dressed up as Go-Go Girls.
This year at the Comus Ball, there will be some lovely coincidences.
The fact that my daughter will be sitting where my mother was sitting 68 years ago to the day, +1, and will be sitting next to one of her closest friends, as my mother did when she reigned as Comus, makes it almost planet aligning.
And there's yet one more connection with the past concerning this year's Queen of Comus and this year's Queen of Carnival, Sarah Eleanor Lane.
Eugenie Jones was Queen of Rex the same year Grace Parker was Queen of Comus, and they're best friends. Eugenie is Sarah's great aunt.
And what happens the day after Mardi Gras? Back to college. Miss LaCorn may no longer be wearing a crown, but she will have a head full of many Mardi Gras memories. And once again, let us visit with the Queen of Comus as she is entered the Comus Ball tonight. Absolutely resplendent, and such a busy, active young lady with her gorgeous gown. And Suzanne St. Paul has had such a busy season here, doesn't she? There she is, and she's on the Dean's list. She loved to travel. She has lots of outdoor activities, and she was in some previous balls, La Pirouettes and Apollo. And also, let me just tell you a little bit more about her gown. She's wearing a luminous trumpet silhouette of beaded lace and silk lame, silver silk lame, designed by Miss St. Paul. A plume motif sculpts the bodice with Swarovski crystals, bugle beads, cut beads, and rows of pearl-encrusted 3D fabric blooms. Streams of silver bugle beads blend into the encrusted blooms on the bodice and the hem, while intricate beadwork adorns the floral design. A V of plumes extends the length of the bodice to the shoulder. The ensemble is completed with the organization's traditional Medici collar, fur trim mantle, crown and scepter, and jewels. She is actually wearing her grandmother's necklace tonight, and the rest of the jewels belong to Comus, but she's actually wearing that. Did you want to add a little something here, Will? She just looks gorgeous.
I just think that she's beautiful, and the dress is beautiful. Suzanne St. Paul is so prolific and does so many of these wonderful court dresses.
Yes, just real. And we should point out they're in silver.
They are.
And
Comus is always in silver. Rex is always in gold. It's fun to see them when they get together and mix it up.
Yes, it is. And there's a close-up shot, of course, of Comus himself in that cup. And by the way, I understand that cup is made by Adler's. Adler's is figuring prominently in tonight's, and that is a cup that the Comus himself gets to keep.
That's right. Unlike in Rex, where Rex has to return all of the jewels, the scepter, the crowns, they're owned by Rex and they're used every year. The Comus cup goes with Comus.
And Errol, one of the things that's so beautiful about Comus and Carnival is a quote that Perry Young said, and we would love to quote, if you don't mind, that very quotation mark, the Mystic Crew, the High Holy Book of Mardi Gras.
In the 1930s, the captain of Comus at the time commissioned a local journalist, a guy named Perry Young, to write a book about Comus, but also Young went on to write about the rest of Mardi Gras and the formation of Mardi Gras. It's a very important book called The Mystic Crew. But he had a foreword, Perry Young had, which to me is probably the most beautiful passage ever written about Carnival. It's been our tradition in the show to read it every year. This is the butterfly of winter quote. Carnival is a butterfly of winter, whose last mad flight of Mardi Gras forever ends his glory. Another season is the glory of another butterfly, and the tattered, scattered fragments of rainbow wings are in turn the record of his day. So what he's saying is that, think of Carnival as this big butterfly, and if the weather changes, the butterfly goes away, but the remnants of it become the stories of the future.
And it's fragile. And by the way, we're seeing in the 1882 butterfly, the motif was used way back when as well.
And the butterfly analogy really describes so much of Mardi Gras so well. I love the poem that it comes from. But if you think about it, all of the parades, all of the artwork, it all year long for 364 days is in the process of being built and painted and made beautiful, and it comes out for one day and then displays itself throughout the city at the time when the flowers are starting to bloom and spring is just around the corner, and it lasts such a very, very short time, and then it goes away again with a short lifespan. It really is the perfect analogy for Carnival, and you see Rex has adopted the Butterfly King, and it features so prominently in all Carnival art and jewelry and everything. It's a wonderful analogy.
Okay, and we're trying to show you the pages, but there's a plume in the way. But we will shortly, won't we? But they look like they're pretty awake, and once again, they're in silver here. And we see that the Comus members actually do dress out in costume. Okay, so... Okay, and I believe this is is this the Comus's page, or Is this Mr.
This looks
okay,
like
this
Buddy
is Jefferson. Yeah, it's Guy Geary. And he was told he would be a page by his mom said, you know, we need to get a picture of you in nice clothing. And actually, it was a ruse. It had to do with the fact that he was going to be a page. And he's good friends with Pepper Bright, who's also up on the stage, and he attends Metairie Park Country Day School. And a lot of them do, don't they?
They do. They're all good friends. Buddy's is a neighborhood fixture in our neighborhood when he comes over to visit his grandparents, Sid and Ashley Geary. A great young man, and he's doing a great job tonight.
And as we're saying, oh, you see those dancing heads, by the way, that's another tradition. And who do we have here? I believe that's Pepper Boyd Bright, Queen's Page, and he's the son of Mr. and Mrs. Timothy Peck Bright. He, too, as we said, is at Country Day. And his uncle, Edgar Bright III, was a page, too. And he was supposed to be going to a Pelicans game, but instead they stopped along the way, and he was told that he was going to be a page. He seems pretty awake. Okay, I know some of them get a little sleepy. But by the way, you're hearing music from the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra. Okay. And this is Mr. Bain, I believe, Winston, Queen's Page. Yes, this is Mr. Winston Walker Bain, and he is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Patrick Stewart Bain. He's a 4th grader, once again, at Metairie Park Country Day, and his aunt was a former royalty and with the Comus.
And his grandparents are in attendance tonight, Jeff and Connie Parker, and they're so excited that he's a page. I asked him what his favorite parade was. Proteus, which is not a conflict because Comus does not parade anymore, so that's okay for Proteus to be his favorite. I'm sure Dad rides in Proteus.
Yes. And you're hearing the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra under the direction of Robert Maxwell, and they do at least 25 different balls over the year, and there's one more.
There's
we have
our
one
last
more
page. That's Ashton Byer DeLoreal.
Yes, and he's the son of Mr. and Mrs. Martin Renee DeLoreal, and he's a 4th grader at Trinity, and he loves to build model airplanes.
I want to mention the all-time famous page story was young Homer Dupuy a long time ago as a kid. He wanted to be a page so bad.
Yes, so let's get back to that,
Okay.
Eric, because we do need to meet the court, and we'll be doing that shortly because there are, of course, maids on the Comus side as well. And this is Miss Mary Boolany Brown. She's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence Baldwin Brown, and she is a junior at LSU in mass communications. And she plans law school. She plans on attending law school and political consulting and campaign management as well. And once again, you're hearing the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra in the background, and she's minoring in history. And next we have Miss Campbell Kristen Drennan, the stepdaughter and daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Marshall Cleveland Powell III, and the daughter of Mr. Wallace Campbell Drennan III, and she is a sophomore at Texas Christian University in finance, the major, and minor in economics.
Mother Claudia, stepfather Cleveland Powell, just the nicest couple you'll ever come across.
Very much a part of WYES,
Absolutely,
too.
And a big sport of WYES, and won the Times-Picayune Loving Cup a year ago. Just a terrific guy.
And here we have Miriam DeVuise Ellis, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Cothran Ellis. She attended high school at McGee's. She's at Rhodes College. She's a junior, major in English and minor in Spanish, and she plans to attend law school. She's having fun. Delightful. Is Charlotte Sprunt Freeman, and she's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Peter Lawrence Freeman. Attended Isadora Newman School. She's a junior at Washington and Lee University, majoring in strategic communications and French.
I spoke to her father earlier today. He said Last night, she was the queen of Proteus, and the moment that caught him the most was when, with one hand, she was making a champagne toast, and with the other hand, she did a one-handed football catch with a throw from the parade. So, but you have to be able to do that in New Orleans. You have to be able to have a drink in one hand and catch with the other.
You're so right. Meredith Hughes Green, Mr. and Mrs. Harold Hughes Graham, and she is a junior at the University of Virginia. Systems engineering is her major, and her minor is applied mathematics. Wow.
The Proteus Ball was in the same ballroom where Comus is. So
Yeah, that's right. And here we have Sarah Elizabeth Jenkins, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Richard Scott Jenkins at the University of Alabama, junior, majoring in marketing and human development, and she's from the Dean's List.
Errol, you're exactly right. And of course, they have to put down two canvases, one for Proteus and one for Comus. So they lay the Comus canvas down first and the Proteus canvas on top so they can then peel Proteus off.
And as we said, all that canvas goes to local art programs in the schools. So it's nice that they're being green. Foster awning. And Winifred Diane McCarthy, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Sean Michael McCarthy, and she's attending the University of Alabama. She's a junior. She's majoring in interior design and is on the Dean's List as well. Was previously in Le Pirouettes, Apollo and Osiris. And then our last maid is Meredith Kubel Metz, Miss Mintz. She's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Charles Frederick Mintz, and she is a junior at Vanderbilt, majoring in pre-med and minoring in chemistry. And she volunteers for a group called Volunteers for Science and a team leader, but she hopes to go to med school. And those are our maids for the Comus Court 2020.
She's being escorted by Sid Gary.
Absolutely. And a little earlier in
Everybody
the evening,
loves
you
this.
got to see the heads. Now, I understand that these are younger members.
Well, they have
it's
to
kind
be.
of a heavy. Please explain.
The newer members are generally the younger members, and so those are some pretty heavy props that they've got on there. And so they task these young fellows with going out and dancing. This is old imagery from the earliest days of Comus that we know about from old lithographs, and so they've been recreated in recent years. It's sort of a fun part of the Comus Ball.
Also, in Perry Young's book, we were talking about the Mystic Crew. You can see some of those images.
Yes, and these are some of those, those figures from early Comus days, and very, very colorful. But as you said, a little on the heavy side as well.
People love this. They love to see the dancing heads. Twitter is ablaze, I'm sure, right now with all of the dancing heads.
Ablaze, yes. And, you know, even though Comus no longer parades, it does have a theme. And we're going to be showing you this lovely invitation in just a moment. And it's very much of the fairy realm this year.
It is the fairy kingdom.
The fairy, and they also actually mint doubloons too, and they toss them at the ball, and that's very, very highly prized.
This was a beautiful invitation created by Patricia Harden, who's a wonderful artist here locally. You see lots of lilies of the valley, one of the Comus main pieces of imagery, as well as plumes, and there's the fairy for the fairy kingdom.
Yes, and as we said, the doubloon, they mint the doubloons, and you see the fairy kingdom. That is the theme, and those are very highly prized because there aren't too many of them, are there?
And they're not thrown because there's no parade. But they couldn't just get rid of the tradition because the tradition is so good.
No.
So they need a theme. They need a doubloon.
Absolutely, and also they do have some cups, plastic cups, and that's another part of the imagery of those early walking heads during the early parades of Comus. Now, they too have a favor, a Comus pin, which is given to many of the ladies of the members, the wives of the members, and that's gorgeous.
A beautiful crew favor
Tiffany
this year.
Adler, once again, has been very busy in her designs, and just absolutely stunning. Now, Comus himself, whom we do not know, has his own personal greeting, and it's an enamel pin cup, of course, depicting the cup of Comus.
There are usually some clues in here, and I can't say that I can really pick out a clue on this one.
Maybe Comus likes gardening? No.
But if you know Comus well, some of this might make sense to you.
Mm-hmm. Whereas Rex, in selecting a Rex, has a committee that gets together and then they spring it on the designee, that Comus is the captain. I mean, the captain who selects who Comus is, and so most of the crew doesn't even know who Comus is.
Yes. You know what I really like is that a lot of the young ladies who I've interviewed over the years who became queen would watch the broadcast looking for their parents, like dancing at the Comus side. And you can see this, and you can see already what is about to happen, Air. We've got something very exciting here.
With the closing of the curtain? And
yes, the closing of the curtain. But first, our monarchs will be departing. And here's our captain of Comus, and he's in charge. He is orchestrating this, that's for sure. And you see the cup emblazoned, their logo, the cup emblazoned in the canvas, just as you saw the crown a few minutes ago on the rec side.
You mentioned all the young ladies who used to watch the meeting of the courts at home on Mardi Gras night growing up. That reminds me, I have to say hello to my children, Liam and Ethan, who are here home in New Orleans watching meeting of the courts, and hopefully Kelsi, who's in Park City, Utah, skiing with friends, and she's watching on WYES.com.
Now, we had an earlier queen say she waited to see her parents, but she fell asleep, so we hope that doesn't happen. By the way, this is the part of the show where we always urge people to have champagne and moon pie. That this is our program's recommended nourishment for watching the part that follows.
And notice the whistle, very much part of the garb, the costume of our captain.
The Rex captain, a few moments ago, there was a shot. He and the Comus captain were just talking, and they patted each other on the back, and then the Rex captain just walked off. So now it's Comus's show.
Those two gentlemen worked so hard throughout the course of the year with dozens of lieutenants and volunteers in their organizations. Mardi Gras is generally not commercialized. Rex and Comus adhere to that principle. It is 100% voluntary basis, volunteers that just put in hundreds and hundreds, thousands of man hours. On the Rex side, have to give a nod to Jeff Parker, who is retiring from his role as head of transportation, Duke of Transportation, after 25 years. So just one example of all the hard work that goes into this.
And neither Rex nor Comus buy their position. It's an honor.
100% an honor.
That there are some crews that being king is a fundraiser, okay, but in this case it's an honor.
And I would say that the ideals of the organization, which really promote doing good things civically for the public good on both sides, instructs many of the members on how and what they should do throughout their lives, and really just makes New Orleans a richer place with so many people working for the public good.
Absolutely. One of my favorite moments of Carnival, the sceptering of all the 4 monarchs.
Now, they're not born knowing how to perfectly scepter. I think that was a Stephen Hales comment. No one that comes into this world knowing how to perfectly scepter. So they've been instructed for months now as to how this works, and they're sticking to the guidelines. They're doing a wonderful job.
My understanding is Helen Butcher, Analti Butcher, and Ashby Gary is very involved with the Comus side, and Shelby Westfeldt on the rec side.
That's right.
With the etiquette, court etiquette, all having learned from Lynn Watkins, who we missed.
But the sceptering is supposed to be a graceful from low to high, from the abdomen up, when done right. It's not waving around. It's a graceful move.
It's done very elegantly. You have to give some credit to the pages to manage those trains as this group moves around the ballroom to do all of their ins and outs. The pages do a great job of keeping the trains straight and keeping the monarchs moving.
And it's not an easy thing to pull that train.
No.
That mask is the classic Carnival face mask, full face mask.
Look at the beautiful plumes on her dress.
Ah. And Comus has the tradition of the 3 plumes on the helmets.
Now here goes the Queen of Comus, taking her leave. I hope they show it. What you'll see as soon as she gets to the end of the dance floor, that train will be scooped up by the pages and by her escorts, and she will move very quickly off. It's a very efficient process.
Yep, absolutely
And
right.
there
Will.
she goes.
Uh-huh.
So we always point out that Rex and his queen they're actually in Comus's house, but Comus leaves first. And some people would say, well, that's not very polite, but when you're a king, you can do that, or when you're a god, you can do that.
Well, of course, Comus is about revelry, and the revelry continues on the other side of that door. So he gets first. He gets out first.
And everybody will be, many of the families will be getting together. Oh, wait, is something happening here? Let's see.
This is very interesting. Oh, forget about leaving the ballroom first to start the revelry. It looks like it's going to commence right here.
Cafe Boulot?
That's interesting.
Yes, Cafe Boulot.
He looks like he knows how to do that.
Yes.
He does look like...
So what are you thinking, Will?
Somebody in the culinary world, one might think.
You've got all the movements.
Oh. I've never seen Comus.
No.
Wow.
Extraordinary.
Display. Yeah. Display.
I don't think he's going to leave after all. I think he's going to stay.
So he symbolically made a Cafe Brûlot.
Gets you thinking.
Gets you really thinking.
You know, it's an interesting gesture that he did there. Usually we see a gesture from Rex as he's the last man standing on the ballroom floor. And you have to wonder what we might see tonight. Of course, this Rex is an avid hunter, avid fisherman. Perhaps that scepter may be used as a prop of some sort. We'll have to see. Not everybody does it, but sort of caught on in recent years.
Comus captain getting the adieu. Story Charbonnet and Sarah Eleanor Lane. Oh,
that's a nice kiss. They act like they're never going to see each other again. Of course, there's a party that starts right after this, and they will be the Queen's Supper, and the Queens will co-host a party and their families, and this will go on into the wee hours of the morning, and they will eat and they will drink, and everybody will finally let their guard down and forget about the sceptering and the protocols and the rules and just have a lot of fun tonight.
Now, Robert Bell, who was last year's Rex, said a while ago that he didn't stay around very long for the partying. He was tough because, you know, they start off with that royal run at 7 o'clock in the morning. So he had it.
This Rex, I'm sure, will burn the candle into the wee hours, and he'll probably be at work first thing in the morning. He is just so energetic and committed to everything he does.
He has to be one of the youngest Rexes.
He's one of the youngest that I recall. There of course have been younger, but not only is he young in age, but he's young in spirit too, and he's just so energetic.
Let's see what he does.
That's a normal scepter. He loves everybody. Much love from this Rex.
Oh. All right.
This is interesting. I think he wants some of that, some of what's in the cup.
They're ready. Oh,
you don't usually see this.
They're taking a picture. They're taking a photograph.
This does not surprise me. I was with Rex yesterday for Mardi Gras, and he took many, many, many photos. And he gets everybody in.
Oh.
He wouldn't want to miss that one.
But let's suggest a rule right now. No selfies. Never.
Hopefully we will.
It could happen. So on behalf of the whole Rex organization, we just want to say that we love and we miss our friend Dottie Charbonnet, and we know that she is smiling down from heaven right now and is very happy and very proud of her son. Hail Rex, hail Story Charbonnet. We love you, Dottie.
And also we lost Brooke Duncan this year too.
Yeah. And here we go, Errol. What do we see?
This is it.
This is the final moment. Here's the captain and his lieutenants lining up together.
It happens very quickly. Yeah. There it is. The curtains will now close on Mardi Gras 2020.
Mystic Crew of Comus, the oldest organization of the New Orleans Carnival.
Everything perfectly run, perfectly organized, just absolutely beautiful. What a great Mardi Gras. What a great Rex. What a great Comus. What a great meeting of the courts.
It's all over.
All right. Very good. And Comus's logo, once again, the cup itself. And by the way, Spangenberg Studios did a great job on the set tonight, too. Really fine.
They really did.
And, you know, we've got our third and final Carnival quiz question. Let's take a look. In what building did the Mystic Crew of Comus originally stage most of its carnival balls? You can email your answers to carnivalquiz@wyes.org. We also welcome your comments about tonight's broadcast. Or you can mail in your entry and comments to Carnival Quiz, WYES TV, 916 Navarre Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70124. The deadline for us to receive the entries is Monday, March the 2nd at 5 p.m. The entries must contain the correct answers to all 3 questions. 1 entry per person, please. Those entries will be put into a drawing, and winners will be announced on WYES's Steppin' Out program on Friday, March 6th at 7:30 p.m. The names of the winners and answers to the questions will be posted on WYES's website, WYES.org, the following Monday. We also welcome your comments about tonight's broadcast. Once again, email us at carnivalquiz@wyes.org. Good luck on the Carnival Quiz. Just a reminder that a copy of tonight's broadcast will be available by calling us at 504-486-5511 or going online to WYES's online store at wyes.org. The price of the DVD is $29.95. By the way, our broadcast will be repeated in its entirety immediately following this completion of this broadcast. Thank you so much to our own incredible crew this evening. Gosh, Jim Moriarty, our executive producer. Barbara Sillery, our producer. Here we go. There they are.
There they are.
Our director, Will Morrow. Chief engineer, Fred Barrett. Associate producers, Kelsi, Schreiber, and our photographer, Lenny Delbert. Our senior video editors, Larry Roussarie and Lenny Delbert Sr. Production assistants, Sharon Snowdy and Estelle DeVergis. And special thanks to the School of Design, as well as the Mystic Crew of Comus. Thank you, Will and Errol, so much for this great evening. And we want to thank also Dr. Stephen Hales.
And Dominic Massa.
And to Dominic Massa and all of our crew. How wonderful. And thank you very much for watching.
See you next year.
See you next year. We now leave you with George Schmidt and the New Leviathan Oriental Foxtrot Orchestra with the Anthem of Carnival, If Ever I Cease to Love. Good night and happy Mardi Gras.
I go there courting and crewing to my lover like a turtle dove, and swearing on my bended knees if ever I cease to love. May sheep's heads grow on apple trees if ever I cease to love. If ever I cease to love, if ever I cease to love, may the moon be turned to green leaves if ever I cease to love. The King of Carnival! In a house, in a square, in a quadrant, in a street, in a lane, in a road. Turn to the left, on the right hand, you see there my true love's abode. I go there courting and crewing to my lover like a turtle dove, and swearing on my bended knees if ever I cease to love. May sheep's heads grow on apple trees if ever I cease to love. If ever I cease to love, if ever I cease to love, may the moon be turned to green leaves if ever I cease to love.
Funding for the 2020 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support.
Hi, I'm Emmett Dupas. At Bienville Capital Group, we specialize in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their retirement goals so that they can enjoy life's journeys.
Chef McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Additional funding is provided by the law firm of Adams and Reese. And Jonathan C. McCall.
Hancock Whitney's roots date back to 1899, and we're still moving forward. We're on a mission to help you achieve your dreams. Hancock Whitney, your dream, our mission.
Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company, bringing you the authentic taste of the South since 1902. Support comes from Baker Donelson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Also brought to you by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services. Any challenge, any risk, anywhere in the world. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank. Both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans tradition since 1898. Brennan's Restaurant offers modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine. Served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter, 417 Royal Street. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown since 1817. Home Care Solutions, compassionate in-home elder care to extend your loved one's independence. And by Richard Certified Public Accountants, RichardCPAs.com.